Chapter 421. Mole. After discussing what happened, Kai and the others helped the other passengers to calm down, ensuring that nothing would happen. Luckily, each airport only had several airplanes that would be able to fly internationally due to the safety restriction. There were only 3 more planes that needed to be directed, while a few more were cancelled. Either way, there shouldn't be unnecessary deaths for this incident, except for those that were unfortunate to be there at the scene. Fortunately, the pilot had been flying above the cloud this whole time, so no one in the plane could see the danger lurking right on the coast. Suddenly, the reserve pilot came out of the cockpit and whispered to Kai, "We can't lower our altitude anymore, or the people will know about it. However, we should be close enough to the altitude that can allow you to jump." Kai thought for a moment and nodded. "Thanks, that's enough. Maintain the course for a minute." "I understand, sir," the pilot saluted. Kai saluted back before asking Tasha to teleport them down. Since she could teleport up to 500 meters, the altitude she reached shouldn't be able to destroy their body even if they fell without equipment. Right before they teleported, Kai just waved his hand and said with a playful tone, "All right, have a nice day, everyone." The others had a weird face when they heard Kai said something like that, but they couldn't utter their disbelief since Kai and the others already disappeared. Finally, Kai and the others fell at a fast speed toward the empty sea. However, they could see a giant mole that seemed to have noticed them as well as it looked toward them. "Isabel, cover fire. Tasha, keep teleporting us toward that mole. It seems that it is the mole that causes this." Kai narrowed his eyes. "I need around a minute to use my teleportation magic 10 times to reach that point. Be ready." Tasha nodded and summoned a magic circle. "We need the information, by the way," Michelle asked as they went closer and closer every time they teleported. "I will brief you after defeating the mole." Kai nodded. "Roger." Michelle acknowledged the command and summoned all the black tattoos to power up. However, something big happened right before the last teleportation magic. The mole raised its claw and slashed downwards, sending a powerful wind pressure that came their way. When Kai noticed it, he used his sound blast to launch him forward and activated his supersonic sword. Yet, the moment he slashed the wind pressure, his momentum stopped completely before Kai suddenly felt something was wrong. The shock wave produced by the mole ultimately blew him away. "What?" Kai. The group was baffled, as they never saw Kai lose against an attack from a magical beast. Michelle stretched her shadow and grabbed him, pulling him up as Tasha activated the last teleportation, sending them right in front of the mole. The mole noticed them and lowered his vision. "Fighting here will be hard for us because thousands of magical beasts keep coming out of that hole. Tasha, in my signal, teleport all of us toward the north. I heard the movement from the military there." Kai shouted. "For now, Sophia, dump a chunk of ice in that hole to halt their advance for 30 seconds. Isabel, Evan will support us from behind and ready to leap toward us when Tasha teleports us. The rest of you, help me." "Understood." The group quickly moved according to his instruction. A blue magic circle appeared in the sky at a bigger size than the hole. Ice nebula. A round-shaped chunk of ice emerged from the magic circle, falling down the sky and hitting right in the middle of the hole. The shockwave coming from it shook the entire battlefield and took all magical beasts' attention. However, the magical beasts inside the hole had a problem in moving from that area. Tasha, Isabel, and Evan began raining them down with bullets and arrows, while Sophia decided to become their guards, protecting them from being surrounded. Meanwhile, Michelle summoned Dark Michelle as they took their positions. Seeing that Michelle took the left direction and Dark Michelle was behind the mole, Ayaka went toward its right and raised her spear. Due to the emergency situation, Kai had no intention of holding back. He leaped toward the mole and leaped to the air, straight to the mole's face, and slashed his swords. Yet he ended up swinging to the left and right instead, as the mole tried to squash him to death. But the shock came to him when he saw the mole's palm. "What? Did it stop my swords without even getting a single scratch?" Kai widened his eyes and gasped. At the same time, he was pressured from both sides as he gradually lost his power. Ayaka ran straight to the mole and used its giant body as a stepping to reach the mole's arm before hitting it to save Kai, but to no avail. "What? I used all the momentum I got, but it didn't push it even a little bit?" On the other side, Michelle also did the same thing as she struck the mole's arm with her shadow slash, keeping it circling a few times. This attack usually would cut something. Even the S-rank spider was no exception. Yet, she noticed something different from this mole, as the whole body looked like it was reinforced by something. Kai, something is wrong with this mole. I can see that, but I don't know what's wrong with it. Kai narrowed his eyes and searched for a way to break free from the mole's claws. Ayaka raised her hand and created a magic circle above the mole's head. Scarlet explosion. Boom. Kai protected itself with his sound oscillation shield, so he was fine. However, the mole seemed to have no injury either other than loosening its grasp. Kai fell to the ground and prepared for another strike, albeit he was beaten by Dark Michelle, who extended all 4 of her scythes toward the mole. 2 hit the 2 arms while the rest hit the legs, preventing it from moving. Now, Dark Michelle shouted. Kai bent down his knees as he activated his sound blast. Unfortunately, he failed once again as he looked down on the ground after hearing a rumbling sound. The ground rose 5 meters and launched Kai to the sky. But the latter shouted, "Tasha, now!" Tasha widened her eyes and teleported the support team to the mole while looking up, finding Kai using his sound blast to descend. She, without hesitation, activated her teleportation magic one more time. Teleportation. The group suddenly vanished from the coast. Arriving at the new place, they were greeted by the sound of explosions from all directions. It was chaotic as they could see so many beasts out there, but there was someone who noticed something different on his battlefield. If Ethan were the guardian of the battlefield, he would be known as the guardian of the base. That person was none other than an S-rank barrier magician, Rain, Kai Carter. He instinctively called his name out loud as he stared at the mole that Kai's group seemed to have trouble with. "When did you arrive?" "I was on my way home and met this." Kai sighed while going around the mole to take its attention so the others could return to their position. "Anyway, will you join me in this battle, Sir Rain? This mole is not ordinary. Its abilities far surpass that of an A-rank magical beast. No, I should say it is close to S-rank magical beast." Rain drew a gasp as he hurriedly replied, "If what you said is true, I need to contact the entire force within the base. We will talk about its origin later." "Understood." Kai nodded as he led his group began attacking the base with their members. Kai's assumption was unrealistic, but he made a few points. Although the mole didn't have a deadly poison that one attack was what it took to take one life, it had insane defense and great control over the ground. Even if there were a low probability that the mole was actually an S-rank magical beast, they would still need to mobilize the entire army that had been stationed inside the beast, and the one who claimed this was none other than Kai Carter. Theoretically speaking, Rain had recognized his strength as one of the strongest in the base, and his teammates could be considered general class level in terms of fighting power. Yet, this group seemed to have no power in harming the mole to the point they needed to teleport toward a safer place. It took only all these for Rain to decide his next move. He turned around and pointed at his assistant. "DEFCON 1. We need all military personnel to arrive here immediately." His assistant dropped his jaw as he never expected that the situation was that dire. DEFCON 1 was a kind of defense readiness condition from the Department of Defense. This DEFCON 1 was the highest alert, telling people to be in maximum readiness and immediate response. If they thought about it, it was actually a normal measure. After all, S-rank magical beast would certainly turn this base into a wasteland with its hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of magical beasts, and it appeared so suddenly after a catastrophic earthquake that seemed to appear out of nowhere. "Hurry up!" shouted Rain. "Why, yes." His assistant hurriedly went back to their temporary headquarters. As soon as he moved, Rain turned around and leaped toward Kai. "I will be fighting by your side for the time being, and confirm this big guy's threat level. If it's not S-rank magical beast, I will lower the alert level." "Understood." Kai nodded with a serious expression and looked at the mole as he leaped again. Chapter 422, Counterattack. After getting the news about the sudden appearance of an S-rank, every single soldier was moved. In Nebraska's military base, many soldiers began entering the aircraft, from helicopters to military aircraft, preparing for a big war. In another military base, the situation was the same as they flew in succession, heading straight toward California. Even Kai's teacher, Rhea Ross, wasn't spared in this. Another general that usually focused on maintaining the orders within each base suddenly appeared inside an auditorium. There were around 50 people inside with a star on their shoulders, and 4 out of them had 4 stars. However, there were some who couldn't attend this meeting, so they actually made a video call so they could participate in the briefing as well, since those people were on their way toward California. I am sure that you all are currently in a mess, but the base is currently facing a catastrophic level threat. An S-rank magical beast has appeared in California. The man began his explanation as he pointed at the large screen behind him, showing the mole's appearance. However, due to the sudden powerful earthquake that hit us a while ago, this mole suddenly appeared out of nowhere. According to the information, we speculated that the mole and the others had been staying underground, far from us, to the point that they wouldn't mess with us. That's the initial state. Unfortunately, everything changed when the earthquake hit. Although we didn't have the data right now, we concluded that something must have happened underground in the fault lines, harming these beasts' habitat. With the mole in charge of this group, they went to the surface. There are already more than 200,000 beasts in the area, and the number keeps increasing every second. But that's not the most important thing. What we need to worry about is the mole. We have suspected that the mole is an S-rank magical beast. His last statement shook the entire room as they widened their eyes in shock. Before you complain, I will show you the video that General Rain took in the battle. The screen changed into a video where Kai and the others appeared in it. Wait, isn't that? Many recognized his appearance as they looked at Rhea Ross. Yes, that's my student, Kai Carter. Rhea acknowledged it and watched the video. The video showed Kai attempted to cut that mole in every way possible with the help of his teammates. Rain also helped him while recording the footage by blocking every single attack from the mole with his barrier. That mole is dangerous, said Rhea with a serious expression, and it's no doubt an S-rank magical beast. Because the people might suspect her showing favoritism, the host asked. May I know the basis of your statement, General Rhea Ross? What my student used in the video was called supersonic sword. It's basically a high-vibration sword, coupled with the power of a sonic boom. The phenomenon when you surpass the sound speed. With only the vibration sword, he managed to injure the S-rank spider back in Argentina. Yet, an upgraded version couldn't even graze that mole. I think I don't need to explain more, right? The people were shocked. Obviously, everyone had heard about Kai Carter's achievement during that battle and the statement about the hardness of the spider's shell. Hence, they concluded that Kai Carter also had one of the most powerful offensive magicians in the base. If such a person couldn't even graze it, there was only a glimmer of people who had the potential to do it. Suddenly, a general raised his hand, asking, there should be another S-rank magician called Tasha Carter, right? Why doesn't she just teleport the mole to the sea? Everyone thought it was a solid question, but the host showed another video. There is another thing that I want to show you. I'm sure that you have heard about her making the battlefield have weather called magical beast rain, right? She basically teleported the magical beast to the sky and had it died like that. And when she did it this time, something absurd happened. Take a look at this video. The video changed. This time, Tasha used her teleportation magic and sent the mole to the sky. With that height, the mole should at least suffer an injury, so they thought it would be like that. However, the mole proved them wrong. A stone pillar emerged from the ground, piercing through the sky. It even reached the mole's height as it grabbed the pillar and descended to the ground at high speed. Kai cut the pillar down with the help of Michelle, but it was futile. The mole had reached enough distance to the ground as it leaped to the air, creating a powerful shockwave that destroyed the area around it and, uninjured. They have tried to do this. Looking at the pillar height, we can safely assume that the mole can create a bridge on the sea. At that time, we won't be able to predict where the mole will go. And there is also a threat from the sea and a tsunami on top of that. There is already a prediction that the tsunami will hit in another 20 minutes. We don't know what will happen to this fight, so all of you are hereby to go toward the battlefield. Prioritize the ice and earth magicians to stop the tsunami by creating a barrier. Eliminate all the magical beasts in the surrounding so as to lower the number of casualties. I will be sending your post after this. And one last thing. This is a message from the president. He showed another video where President Brent stood in front of the camera. I won't take your time since this is an emergency. I only want to say, we have two priorities. The first being the mole, while the second one is the citizens. Last but not least, I shall elevate one person to be the general of the army, becoming the supreme leader of our entire army. Henceforth, for this mission, with my authority as the president, I bestow Rhea Ross the authority as the general of the army. Kai Carter shall serve you as your deputies. The rest shall support them according to your tasks. After announcing Rhea Ross's supreme position, the president saluted with a grim expression. Everyone instinctively raised from the seat as they saluted back. President Brent lowered his hand, followed by Rhea Ross and all generals here. She then shouted, "Move out!" Every single person in the room quickly departed from their seat to march toward the battlefield. Meanwhile, the situation was also not that much better in California. The city was enveloped by fire and smoke. The sound of screams lingered in four corners. Magical beasts kept hunting humans while the military tried their best to suppress them. Their efforts were supposed to be enough, but they miscalculated the power of an S-rank magician beast. They could call beasts upon beasts continuously until the nearby area was empty, and this showed how many beasts actually hid underground. Luckily, there was only one hole they needed to focus on, so this situation was redeemable even with so many casualties. Kai and the others were still facing the mole without knowing what to do. The mole's defense far surpassed that of the S-rank spider, so even with Michelle's Shadow Slash, there wasn't even a dent on it. Kai, Isabel shouted with a serious expression, as though she found something. The mole's fur is the one that is strong. I can see the difference in their fur. If you can blow the fur away, I'm sure you can cut that monster. Hearing the information, Kai furrowed his eyebrows while trying to find a way to clear that fur. Rain didn't want them to deal with this alone, so he shouted, "I can create a small barrier for you to push the fur. Although the space is not going to be big, I'm sure it's enough for you. However, I need someone to cover me because it will take all my focus." Michelle, Ayaka, Roger. The 2 plus Dark Michelle leaped toward Rain. "We will help you. Understood. Let's go." Rain nodded. Kai quickly leaped toward the mole's head and slashed his sword, only to find it stopped by the claws. At the very least, the mole's eyes were focused on Kai, so the small group went around the mole. To prevent it from moving, Sophia created another huge boulder of ice on top of the mole, but to no avail. The mole slashed it with its claw before throwing the smaller portion toward her. Little did the mole know, the real attack was not her, but Tasha. She had teleported to the sky and created 4 magic circles in succession. The thunder began to be heard behind the white cloud. Lightning, God's wrath. Blue lightning struck forth, hitting the magic circles in succession. Each time it passed through them, it became stronger and stronger until it hit the mole. The mole summoned many spikes to divert the electricity, but the piercing power of the lightning itself was too great for the spikes to handle. It broke through and hit the mole's hand after it tried to move to protect his head. Unfortunately, the lightning didn't manage to pierce the mole's hand, but that was all they needed. Dark Michelle stopped the numb mole's body with her 4 scythes, while Rain clapped his hand, summoning a small barrier that pushed out the fur in one space like when a human brushed their hair, showing the white head's skin. Kai also had used his sound blast to go around the mole, finding that empty space. Without hesitation, he struck that little area and pierced a bit of the mole's skin as red blood splattered around his sword. Roar. Chapter 423. Great Battle Roar. For the first time in history, a mole roared like that of a tiger. However, the most terrifying thing behind that roar was the fact that the magical beasts turned around as if they were trying to help the mole. This is bad. Kai frowned and took one step back. "We have an issue. The magical beasts are heading this way." Rain contemplated for a few seconds before shouting back, "ETA! 2 minutes. Not enough. We need to move to a different area. Do you think you can do it? We need to stop the mole's movement for a few seconds." Kai then turned to Tasha. "How is your magic power?" "It's enough. The lightning earlier took 20%, but we could still teleport more than 10 times, answered Tasha while releasing its arrow. "How long will the soldiers arrive?" "The first batch will surely come within 10 minutes. It should be enough to stop them until the next batch." "All right, Tasha, you heard him. Conserve your stamina as we will teleport in my signal." Kai nodded. He only realized how hard it was to fight a single S-rank magical beast. Previously, they could keep fighting because there were so many soldiers protecting them, so no magical beast appeared in their fight. But they didn't have anything this time, so Kai needed to take that into account. Suddenly, a thought appeared in his mind as he asked, "Do you think we can use air support? This is an urban area. If we do it, the backlash is too great. Even if we can't kill this mole, it's better than the backlash." "Understood. General Rain, I know that my position is below you, but can you listen to my command in this battle? I will try to kill this mole as soon as possible." Kai narrowed his eyes. Rain smirked. "Fine by me. I will become your deputy in this battle as long as you can kill this mole." "Roger." Kai then turned to the others. "I will cut another 2 spots during this. Michelle, you don't need to hide it anymore. Michelle, your job remains the same. Ayaka, if there is an opening, use your explosion to throw its balance off. Isabel, Evan, you are to protect me from the claws." In that instant, the group nodded in unison as Michelle leaped toward Kai before entering his shadow. Shadow possession. Union. She submerged into Kai's shadow before Kai possessed the same tattoo as Michelle's. Oh? Rain was astonished at first, but returned to normal right after as he went around the mole to create another barrier on its back. Kai, on the other hand, slashed his sword as both released a black sword strike running through the ground. Shadow slash. It hit the mole's feet before climbing the mole's body and going as far as its eyes. Surprisingly, the mole prevented it from happening by using its claw. He even summoned another spike below Kai's feet to launch him to the sky. Michelle already reacted to it by creating a spike below his shoes, so Kai didn't get launched. Right after the spike stopped growing, Kai leaped toward the mole, who happened to swing its claw and create the same wind pressure in order to cut Kai. Sound blast. A magic circle appeared next to him, blowing him away slightly to the side. Seeing Kai avoid his own attack, the mole prepared for another attack, but this time Isabel shot with her full power, blasting the mole's hand. Not wanting to lose, Evan changed his bullet into an explosive bullet and aimed at the mole's other hand so it wouldn't stop Kai again. Rain turned out to have positioned himself and created a barrier where Kai could strike. Kai Carter. "This is your chance." Kai nodded as Michelle had prepared her shadow slash. The moment he struck the mole's body, he pierced its body as Michelle's shadow slash extended the blade to create more serious injury. Sensing that power, the mole roared even louder before he heard a big movement from underground. "Not good. Everyone jump." Although they didn't know what happened, they jumped to the air before numerous pointed spikes emerged from the ground, trying to hit them. Some of them didn't jump high enough, but Rain managed to react and summon a barrier to protect them. "Isabel, eyes!" Kai shouted. "Roger." Isabel smiled and released another bullet toward its eyes. Because the mole was too focused on Kai, who managed to injure him twice, Isabel's bullet flew unnoticed as it pierced the mole's right eye. Ayaka then followed with a magic circle. Scarlet explosion. Boom. The explosion hit the mole from the right, which became the mole's blind spot just now. Although that explosion wasn't enough to injure the mole, it managed to throw the mole's balance off. Kai launched himself with a sound blast and kicked the mole's head so it would fall on top of those sharp spikes. Bam. Surprisingly, both the spikes and mole's body were strong enough to not break. Finally, Sophia, who had been conserving her power until now, made her first move. Another block of ice appeared in the air and fell on top of the mole, pushing the mole to the ground with its weight. The spikes pierced the mole's skin a bit, but soon snapped into two as the mole fell on the ground. "Gather!" Kai gave the signal for the teleportation magic. Isabel asked Evan to carry her weapon while she carried Evan to the sky with her flying magic. Meanwhile, Sophia continued her attack to stop the mole from moving. Ice shackles. Huge shackles emerged from the ground as it chained the mole's neck and forelimbs to the ground by planting itself deep underground. As Rain made his way toward the mole so Kai could hit it again, a series of roars echoed on the battlefield would soon be filled with monsters. Sophia placed her hand on the ground and created a massive blue magic circle. "One more shot, Kai." Since she hadn't used too much magic, she poured a bit more into this attack. The moment the magical beasts were close enough, a series of ice spikes like what the mole did earlier emerged from the ground, killing many magical beasts at once. Still, her main goal was stopping the advance of the magical beasts just for a bit. Rain created a pair of translucent barriers for Kai to attack, while Tasha prepared the teleportation magic circle. When both of them completed their magic, Kai slashed the mole again until it screamed, angering all the magical beasts in the area. After that, Tasha teleported them slightly to the north to avoid this madness. Obviously, they were in the middle of soldiers because this was where Rain came earlier. General. The soldiers recognized Rain in an instant. This is my command. To the south, there will be tens of thousands of magical beasts coming. Buy me time, so we can kill this S-rank magical beast. We have no time, hurry, Rain shouted. Yes, sir. The soldiers shouted and hurriedly ran from that scene, despite being curious about the S-rank magical beast. After all, only a small portion of soldiers could see the battle against an S-rank magical beasts, so they wanted to watch such a fight. But they also knew that if the army of magical beasts weren't stopped, the S-rank magical beast would threaten the entire base, killing hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people. Kai Carter. We should be fine until the first batch of soldiers. I need 2 minutes to report the situation and give our location so they can act accordingly. Rain shouted. I got this. Kai nodded. There are 3 spots where I can strike right now, so you should go. Okay. He leaped to the side and pulled out his device. It was true that this would be noticed by the nearby magical beasts. But since the soldiers had created a wall to stop the magical beast's advance, there was nothing to worry about other than the mole. Meanwhile, Michelle came out of Kai's shadow as she signaled Ayaka to aim at the wound on the back with Dark Michelle while she and Kai focused on the front. Don't make this mole blind because it might go rampage without any direction. It will probably harm the city more than what we want. Kai warned the group, telling them that one eye was enough. After feeling the ground, the mole quickly used its magic again to create spikes. The group leaped to the air to avoid this, but the mole seemed to have a different plan. It flicked its body and prepared to submerge underground. Kai created a sound blast for both him and Tasha, launching them toward the mole. We can't let it escape, Tasha. Okay, she acknowledged the order and used her teleportation magic as soon as they landed. Kai took the mole's attention until Tasha teleported them to the sky. Yet, it seemed they were trapped in the mole's scheme as the mole summoned its towering pillar and grabbed it. For Kai and Tasha, who didn't have any stepping, they became a juicy target. The towering pillar extended some of the rock to kill them, but Kai used his sound blast to jump to Tasha, carrying her like a princess before floating by using his sound levitation magic. Their eyes intertwined as the mole was angry and created a small platform in the sky. But that wasn't all. Below that platform, several pillars came out to hit and pin the others to the ground. All of you dodge, Kai shouted. Chapter 424, Die. Other than Kai and Michelle, all of them were below the platform, so they became the prey in an instant. Teleport. Tasha clenched her teeth as she realized it was too late. I won't be able to make it. Ayaka also tried to use her Scarlet Explosion, but it was too late. Isabel, on the other hand, could take 1 or 2 people away with her flying magic, but some would be injured unless Ayaka thought the same thing. Suddenly, Dark Michelle leaped to the sky and slashed all the spikes that might kill them. Tasha! But you! Hurry up! Tasha looked down and continued, fully activating her magic to teleport everyone, excluding Dark Michelle, out of there. The group was also in anguish, thinking they had lost someone already. Of course, they knew that Dark Michelle would probably return to being a shadow and enter Michelle's body again, but it didn't mean she wasn't a part of the team. At the same time, if it was someone else, they would have died, pierced by those spikes. All of you calm down, Kai shouted in anger, even though Michelle already informed him what was happening. There were 2 purposes of this anger. First, he wanted the others to stay calm after seeing him angrier than them. Second, he was really angry. The group looked at him as Ayaka signaled what they needed to do. The group nodded as they took their position while watching Kai fighting the mole alone. Ayaka clapped her hand and shouted, Scarlet Explosion. Boom. A giant explosion occurred and snapped the pillar into 2. Those 2 above became unstable before Kai used his sound levitation to fly. On the other hand, the mole didn't know what to do other than falling from the sky. Sophia arrived right below the mole as a huge ice spike emerged, trying to pierce the wound that it suffered earlier. At the same time, Isabel released a bullet from its blind spot, hitting the same eye that she took earlier, resulting in the mole focusing more on the pain instead of the spike. Evan shot an explosive bullet that turned into a smokescreen, so the mole had no chance to see the spike. However, the mole was better than they thought. It spun its body in all directions and sent those countless and destroyed both its own pillar and Sophia's spike. Shh! Sophia gritted her teeth and leaped back, avoiding the mole from stomping her to death with that giant body. On the contrary, Kai was thanking them inwardly as he saw through the smoke and found the wound on its back. He stabbed the wound and waved his sword as far as possible before the mole shook its body, throwing him away. But the most shallow wound became the most severe injury in an instant, so Kai was happy with this improvement. Rain seemed to have finished and was about to head to their position, so Kai wanted one more hit at the very least. Kai raised his forefinger as a signal of what he wanted them to do. The moment they saw it, Ayaka charged at the mole with her fastest speed, thrusting her spear toward the wound. The mole had stood up and avoided her, albeit barely. Ayaka clicked her tongue and saw that the mole was about to hit her. Michelle used both of her sniper rifles to strike the hand and blow it away, while Ayaka touched the mole's skin and went around it before leaping away. To stop the next movement, Tasha released the explosive arrow while Evan used his explosive bullet. Both of them hit the mole at the same time, triggering the magic circles that Ayaka had planted earlier. This was Ayaka's magic bomb, and from the look of it she planted at least 10 in that small time frame. Those 10 magic bombs exploded at the same time, creating a huge blast and sound on the battlefield. But Kai couldn't stop here and charged against the shockwave and slashed the mole, right on its wound that had been exposed by Ayaka's explosions even for a little bit. Kai took a deep step on the ground and used all of his power to this slash. The wound became even deeper, but Kai ended up slashing the asphalt, so there would be a sword mark here that people would never forget. The bleeding became even worse, so Kai was expecting that the mole would die sooner or later. Although I hate to admit it, my power is not enough to kill S-rank magical beast right now. I can only let it die by itself. Kai clicked his tongue before rain came into his vision. He shouted, "This mole shouldn't last too long with the constant blood loss. Now we need to play it safe and wait for it to die." "Roger!" they shouted in unison. Kai led his group in this battle and kept attacking the mole for another 5 minutes. Since rain had returned, Kai decided to create 1 or 2 more wounds so the mole would die soon. Though, he ended up creating 3. In any case, Kai felt that the mole's strength slowly decreased over time, making him and his team become even more fired up, expecting it to die. After all, this would become a great achievement. For Rain, this would mean that his status became close to Rio Ross, even though Kai had the biggest contribution. As for his teammates, they would become famous as they could kill an S-rank magical beast with a small squad. This was something that Rhea hadn't done before. Yet, the biggest winner of this achievement was none other than Sophia. With her identity as the granddaughter of the strongest magician in EU base, Sophia would have shown her capability. The public would think of them as a couple matched by heaven. More and more pressure would come to Kai to marry Sophia. If this were the past him, he would reject her without hesitation no matter the consequence. But the past few months were indeed something special, so he would just say, wait for a while, as he would marry her with the others together. A few minutes later, roar, roar, the mole roared again, but each roar was significantly quieter than the previous one. And finally, after a long effort from Kai and his group, they managed to take down another S-rank magical beast. Of course, Rain also took a big part of this, since it was due to his barrier. They could wound this barrier. Looking at Kai's group that was too tired to move, Rain let out a long sigh. You all are indeed the next generation magicians that will protect this base. You are also a part of this. Kai shook his head. We would have lost if you were not here. That's because of Isabel Fisher's observation. He shrugged. They began praising each other for a while before Rain said, Still, the biggest contribution of this battle is you, Kai Carter. I'm afraid those people will be panicking to find a suitable reward for you. I wonder whether you will have 1 or 2 stars after this. Ahaha, Kai laughed to brush that away. I would have never thought something like this could happen to the US base. Nor can I. We already know that we live on top of magical beast nests. Due to the lack of paths to go there, they are called passive nests with no way out. However, I don't know why there will be such a big earthquake hitting this coast. I think we need to get away from here, Kai suggested while thinking about the tsunami that would soon come. No need to worry. The tsunami will be handled by the army of earth and ice magicians, directing its powerful wave to somewhere else. We are safe here unless my army is losing against those beasts. Nonetheless, the reinforcement will soon come, so you all should rest after this. I will deal with the rest. Yeah, we will do that. Kai accepted since his teacher should be a part of this suppression operation. Anyway, what is the status? I'm not sure. There are at least 400,000 magical beasts around the area, and we have no way to know how many more will come out. Still, unlike when they have a leader that can order them around, we can suppress this number in a day or two before cleaning up the entire area in a week. After that, there is restoration. Kai sighed. I wonder if someone wants to live here again. Kai looked at the ruined city and shook his head helplessly. That's where you were wrong. Rain smirked. This place will soon become even more expensive, you know. I think you should get a mansion in this place as a part of your reward. Why? Kai tilted his head in confusion. The army will surely explore the tunnel that the mole created and fully explored it to make sure there are no more secret enemies. After that, this place will become one of the safest places in the world since you have no threat from underground. I mean, that's one of the police's jobs, no? Killing monsters that somehow escape from its underground nest. Rain shrugged. I see. Kai nodded with a serious expression as he could relate to what he said. The price will become extremely expensive. And there is a chance that establishments will be made here, including the second beach in the world. Exactly. I will probably buy one too. He laughed. Suddenly, Kai raised his vision as if he heard something. Oh, you heard something? Yes, our reinforcement has come. Kai nodded while looking at the mole. Chapter 425, Promotion. Our reinforcement has come. Kai smiled as he raised his vision, looking at the airplanes that seemed to be bringing so many soldiers at once. They are too late. We have killed the S-rank magical beast. Well, we haven't made sure whether this mole is an S-rank magical beast or not. Kai shrugged. Aren't there steps to classify a magical beast? Yeah, but from its ability alone, I can vouch that this is an S-rank magical beast. Besides, I have recorded our fight to be analyzed, giving more value to this mole's rank. Video? Kai narrowed his eyes. Yes, most of the battle will surely be hidden from public eyes, but we need some of it to show. After all, the people will start getting angry due to their loss. Rain let out a long sigh and looked at this destroyed city. I see. The video is to show that the military still has enough power to handle them and make the fact that this attack is due to the earthquake. Yeah. This is the life of someone who stays on the base instead of the battlefield. Unlike them, I need to record everything since trust is so important. That's... Kai stopped, not knowing what to say. Anyway, I think we should move to somewhere else first. Before he finished, Kai heard his teacher's voice as she leaped out of the airplane. A soldier brought her down with her flying magic as Ria headed straight toward Kai. When she realized that all of them had stopped fighting, she was stupefied and looked around, finding the mole. You beat it? Ria asked with a shocked expression. We beat it. General Rain was a big help. Kai smiled. No, it's... A relay of praises circulated again before Ria stopped them with a glare. Since you've killed it, I don't need to worry about it anymore. She then looked at Rain, who had the best complexion, and asked, What about you? Are you planning to stay in the rear? No. I'm going to continue fighting. I think I'm done. I almost use all my magic power because of this guy. I think the rest of my group is the same. Kai sighed. Well, your job is to become my deputy, but I think this can be dismissed with your achievement. Instead, you are going to be my deputy. She turned to Rain with a serious expression. With pleasure. Ria Ross nodded and looked back at Kai. You can rest here for a while. When you have restored your power, you will fulfill your responsibility. As for the others, I don't mind if you go home now, but I don't think you will return without him, right? The group looked at each other as they nodded their heads in unison. Anyway, we are going to clear this place and explore the underground nest, so it will take a few days, if not weeks. You will also find your families here, since everyone is deployed. We understand, teacher. Kai smiled. If only we kill an S-rank magical beast next year, we would have gotten enough points to become an exception, no? Yeah, but I think it won't be that hard for you to get it. Even if you don't, you will become an officer as soon as possible. She shrugged. Well, enough talking. I need to go right now. Let's go. Rain nodded as he followed Ria away while waving his hand to the kids, saying his goodbye. Meanwhile, Kai and the others decided to visit the nearby temporary base and rest there. Of course, Kai didn't forget to drag that giant mole's body to the base as it was their trophy. The cheers echoed in the base, as this was their third S-rank magical beast. After a few hours, although their magic power had yet to recover fully, they were already strong enough to move. Kai led his group to his teacher before starting to command the army with his group, killing all the enemies on the surface. It took them 3 whole days since they needed to search for every nook and corner, so no one would be injured again. Kai and Sophia's ability was useful in this situation. Kai could search for monsters in a wide area, while Sophia could locate people or beasts hiding inside a building or something. Then, Ria Ross led everyone inside the hole that the mole created. Kai and Sophia obviously accompanied her, locating every single beast inside the tunnel. Unfortunately, Kai didn't have enough time to create a map for this place, so they ended up taking a whole week to explore it fully. If the majority of the beasts didn't come out of this hole, there was no way they could complete it this soon. Kai and the others couldn't celebrate yet because there were so many deaths in this incident, both soldiers and citizens. It could be considered one of the worst that could happen in this case after the apocalypse. The mourning week started as California was closed for a moment to restore all the buildings. Still, just like Rain's prediction, investors began to come because they knew that a huge nest underneath California had been cleared. Kai and the others returned to school, hiding from the media since the battle between his group, General Rain, and the S-rank magical beast was published, stunning the entire base. Even Ria visited them, but in a worse state. The moment she arrived in their room, Ria dropped to the ground. "Teacher?" Kai widened his eyes and helped her, letting her sit in his usual seat. "Why are you so tired?" "I handled so much paperwork," she sighed, "and this is going to be more troublesome than I think." "What do you mean?" Kai furrowed his eyebrows. "The reason for the earthquake is still unknown. Earthquakes are indeed a natural phenomenon, but we are not sure whether someone is actually pulling the string or not, because the calculation doesn't match up." Kai's eyebrows twitched as he knew there were beings that could do something like that. After all, he had friends that could create a real tornado or tsunami, so he knew it was possible. "Anyway, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I am bored of that topic. What I want to say is your promotion." I don't really care." Kai shook his head. "Well, it's related to mine too, so I think you need to hear this. Okay?" Ria looked at his face for a few seconds before closing her eyes. "They have decided to skip Major General and officially promote you to Lieutenant General." Even the others were surprised by that generosity. Michelle narrowed her eyes and asked, "Professor, are you serious? If we are talking about the position under the general level, I can still accept it. But the gap between Brigadier General, Major General, Lieutenant General, or even General are big individually. And you have surmounted that big step by slaying an S-rank magical beast." Ria Ross shook her head in defeat. "Actually, I believe this is their way to control you in the future." "What do you mean?" Kai tilted his head in confusion. "Because they're going to officially increase my rank too." "What?" They shouted in disbelief as they stared at Ria Ross's serious expression. "Are you going to become an official general of the army?" Kai asked. "Isn't that rank only handed in the time of war?" "There is a belief that something is lurking in the shadow, so we are on high alert. Thus, making me the general of the army is their first step to counter that. Not only can I control you as your teacher, but my own power is higher than anyone else. That's why they have agreed to make me the general of the army." Kai made a weird smile. He knew that his teacher never officially became a general of the army, so he was happy with this promotion. At the same time, he thought it would be fine for him to reach that point as soon as possible. "Well, congratulations. It's not like you are going to the battlefield, right?" "Yeah, my station is here, and my duty hasn't changed, but it's still annoying to answer the people's expectations. Anyway, your authority has been upgraded. Isn't that nice? You would have more say." "That's nice, but I need to handle all those paperwork." Ugh, I don't want to go back. Ahaha, if you need my help, I will go to your place from time to time. And I think there is only 1 month left before the advancement. I also need to see the student council president for the battle before going to the EU base. Kai sighed. Right, you are going to face many troublesome people without my help. I will do my best to prevent it from happening, Sophia suddenly spoke. I know that my grandfather is pulling some strings in the shadow, but it also means that he has stopped many people from participating in it. At the same time, as long as I stretch my hand to deal with it, I can deal with them all. Not all, but the majority of them. But I can guarantee you it won't be more than 5 people. Now that I think about it, they won't have time for it since I'm planning to go somewhere. Kai narrowed his eyes. Somewhere? Yes, it's a dangerous place, so none of them can keep up with me. Kai shrugged. Sophia looked at him with hesitation. If you end up coming, I don't mind, but there is no telling what will happen during the journey. Anyway, we will talk about this later. Chapter 426, Ceremony. As expected, since this was a major catastrophe for the US base, the reward was also great. All of them gathered inside a huge hall with the president standing in front of them with a few people on his back as his assistant. If one took another look at it, they seemed to be holding the insignias for the reward. Rhea Ross stood next to Kai and his teammates, including General Rain. To commemorate the heroes that fought bravely in one of the greatest disasters in history, we shall officially start this ceremony. They have fought gallantly in the last battle that had enough potential to lay waste the entire base. Without further ado, we would like to invite Mr. C, President, to the stage. President Brent rose from his seat and walked toward the center of the stage as he looked at all the soldiers that were going to be officially promoted on this occasion. First of all, we would like to give our thanks to all these heroes and the great soldiers that sacrificed their lives during the battle. We wouldn't forget what you have done for the country. Now, let's call the first hero, Major Stephen. He has. The narrator talked about his deed in a simple manner as the person walked to the stage and received a Medal of Honor from President Brent. The situation repeated for 2 hours since there were truly so many people that needed to be awarded. But the wait paid off since they were going to announce the last few people that significantly turned the course of the battle. Rain's name was the first to be called. General Rain Lambert participated in the battle against an S-rank magical beast before serving as a temporary vice commander in the suppression. The host announced his deed in a simple way, according to the script. Rain stood up and walked toward the president like that of a soldier. Brent smiled and put on the insignia before shaking his head. Thank you. My pleasure. Rain smiled back and returned to his seat. After him, Sophia's turn came and the host began to talk. Despite being an exchange student from the EU base, she gallantly fought together to kill the S-rank magical beast. We would like to formally give our thanks to her. Brent put on the Medal of Honor before shaking her hand. The others also got one after her as they were called one by one in succession. Finally, there were only 2 people who had yet to get the badge, Kai Carter and Rhea Ross. Although Kai's contribution was the biggest, Rhea Ross's promotion was the most important, so he ended up going first. Still, the president didn't want to let it feel lackluster as he presented a video for everyone to see, especially those who watched this ceremony. It was the video of him killing the S-rank magical beast. Of course, many would surely doubt it, so they showed a bit of the fighting part where Kai Carter created those big wounds on the magical beast's body. The hall was astonished by his achievement. Even the masses couldn't believe what they saw, especially the ones that saw him inside the airplane. Kai Carter and his group were returning from their vacation before they jumped off the plane without hesitation to do the mission they had yet to get. Despite the danger, Kai Carter decided to take on the S-rank magical beast alone, which ended up meeting General Rain Lambert in the process. With the strength of these 8 people, they managed to kill the 5th S-rank magical beast in history, or the 3rd in US base history. We can't thank them enough as this magical beast had the potential of bringing 500,000 beasts from the hole to wreak havoc in our beautiful base. And as you can see, the strength of the beast is too high for an ordinary person to go against it. Thus, we proudly announce that Kai Carter has officially become the Lieutenant General of the US base and elevate his rank to S-rank magician. The people here couldn't help but clap their hands. Kai walked to the president, but he already had a new uniform that showed 3 silver stars on his shoulder, symbolizing his rank as a lieutenant general. As for the S-rank magician, it was due to his unorthodox way of handling magic. Still, he truly attained that peak and showed the entire world that he was qualified to get this rank. President Brent smiled, put on the Medal of Honor in his uniform, and shook his hand. "It's my pleasure to put this medal on you." "Thank you, Mr. President." "No, it's us who should thank you." He smiled and hugged him to show his appreciation. After getting released, Kai turned around and returned to his seat. Next is the greatest award. She killed an S-rank magical beast in the past and saw the talent Kai Carter had. Instead of a D-rank magician, which wasn't high but wasn't low either, Rhea Ross thought of him as an S-rank magician. She became his teacher and taught him everything from fighting to commanding ability. Had she not found the diamond in the rough, this incident would end up as a disaster. At the same time, she served as the leader of the last suppression mission and explored the entire nest, making sure there wasn't any more magical beast hiding underneath California. Thus, we proudly announce that from today onward, Rhea Ross is our General of the Army. Holding the only 5-star insignia on her shoulder, she shall become our guardian deity that protects the base in an emergency situation like this, so the citizens can feel safe. The applause for her was not losing to Kai, as this was actually a well-deserved title, since Rhea Ross still held the title as the strongest in the entire base or even the world, despite not becoming an S-rank magician. And if they actually announced her inventions that changed the world, people would recognize her as the scariest person on Earth. Rhea smiled and walked like any others. Still, that 5-star insignia on her shoulder took everyone's breath away, as they could finally see another general of the army after the last one who passed away 50 years ago. They could bet that there would be more general of the army in this generation, since there were 2 more candidates that seemed to be suited for such a title. With their achievement, they were none other than General Rain Lambert and Lieutenant Kai Carter. However, Rain knew his limitations since he only supported Kai and the others during that battle, so he unlikely took that position that he didn't deserve. Meanwhile, after putting the medal on her uniform, Brent took one step back and saluted. Rhea saluted back before the other officers instinctively rose from their seats and saluted as well. The majority of the people behind the screen who were watching this scene couldn't help but do the same. This was the greatest honor one person could have, as she could actually move the soldiers without permission. But it also meant that such a position was left in the hand of someone that could be fully trusted. Although there was a bit of controversy going on about Rhea's promotion, it was necessary because Kai Carter would surpass her sooner or later. And when that time came, the government might be held accountable. Besides, it wasn't like Rhea's ability was worse than the previous general of the army, so they ultimately agreed to this promotion. The ceremony then came to a close, as it was followed by a grand banquet for all the people to get to know each other. Still, there were more people around Kai as they were offering so many things, from treasures to wives. Some even wondered whether he would create a powerful family like Graham family, Kudo Group, and Campbell family, but Kai had no such a desire. He simply wanted a normal leisure life after everything was over, so he rejected all their gifts politely, so as to avoid making unnecessary enemies. Last but not least, there was another place that would receive the impact of Kai's influence. It was none other than the school. They would surely receive so many applicants this year, since many adored Kai and treated him as their role model. As long as there was, I graduated from Sacred Magic School, where alumnus Kai Carter once was a part of it, or even more amazing, they were students when Kai Carter was still a 3rd year. Spread in their heart, the hype wouldn't go down soon. In fact, Kai already knew this would happen. He only pitied his instructor that had been accompanying him since he was in United Asia, Shirotsuka Sanai. He felt like he should do something for her, since she would become a hot commodity after this. Though he also smiled and said to himself, "Teacher, you don't need to thank me. Many potential husbands will surely come to you. Your rant of not having a boyfriend won't succeed after this." After getting acknowledgement from everyone, Kai finally escaped from that hell and returned to his house. Of course, they had another celebration back home. His mother cooked all the things they loved, but Kai and Tasha surely savored everything without leaving anything behind. It couldn't be compared to the tastiness of the food that the White House could offer, but Kai and Tasha felt peace inside this house. And this was called family. Chapter 427. Discussion. The next day, Kai returned to school. As one would expect, there was a huge banner for him alone, while the rest were portrayed in a single banner. So many fangirls have been waiting for him this whole time, especially in this current world situation where the population was dominated by females. Of course, Evan shared the same problem since he was the only male beside him. Isabella ended up escorting him to his room to avoid direct confrontation, while Tasha teleported Kai. Meanwhile, Sophia, Michelle, and Ayaka had a better situation since not many males dared to approach them, considering they were considered Kai's girlfriends. And even if they wanted them, there was no way they could beat Kai, who had the same achievement as his teacher. At the same time, it would draw hatred toward them, so it was better to remain neutral. A fan was alright, but an admirer, they would be lucky they were still alive. Still, no matter what everyone had to say, Kai's fan base grew even bigger. If before they were admirers, the news turned them into worshippers. Had Kai become a playboy, he would be able to sleep with any of the girls he wanted. Unfortunately, Kai had his hand full with Michelle and the others, and had no intention to do something like a one-night stand. Hence, Kai ignored all their messages since the best way for him to reply to them was by his action. As long as he kept racking achievements, there wouldn't be much of a problem. After getting inside his room with teleportation magic, Kai laid down on the couch with a tired face. Next to him was Evan, who happened to have the same expression. "Say, Captain, can I somehow stay silent for a while?" he asked. "I mean, Hide inside my house until the situation calms down." "Well, I have a suggestion for that." Kai nodded. "And I have the same plan, actually." "Really? I want to listen to this suggestion of yours. How about we go for another mission for next month, which happens to be our last mission. After this, if we don't want to go to school, no one can say anything." "That's a good idea. Possibly something that doesn't take too long." While the two talked, Michelle overheard their conversation and tilted her head in confusion. "Wait a minute. Wasn't the S-rank magical beast considered as one mission?" Now that I think about it, the previous S-rank magical beast was announced as a raid mission. Kai looked at the ceiling before nodding his head. "So, does this mean we don't need to go to school anymore? There is still one more left before graduation." "Well, we need to have a mock battle with 4 groups where each of us needs to handle one. Tasha and Sophia can't participate, okay?" Kai glanced at them with a serious expression. "I know. I will graduate by then, so I have no intention of staying here. Instead, I will be racking up achievement after achievement to show that I'm not a paper tiger." Tasha smirked. "Well, I will probably return first to prepare everything for you, Mr. Exchange Student." Sophia stuck her tongue out. "Ahaha!" Kai laughed before turning to Evan. "So, I think we only have one mock battle. If you lose, we lose." "Why are you saying that to me?" "Well, I do know that I'm the weakest, but is there a need to say it right on my face? Anyway, I will do my best in this mock battle." Kai nodded. "I have informed the student council president, you know. Do you want to accompany me to meet her to discuss the mock battle? Right now? 5 minutes later." "Sure, but are you sure we can survive out there?" Evan made a disgusted face, as if he really hated this much attention. Even in his house, his parents threw a party, while his sisters visited him while crying in tears. He couldn't help it as well, since the previous Evan was useless and unruly. He acted like punk and ignored almost everything. Yet, he became one of the heroes that saved the base, receiving the Medal of Honor himself. Not only had he turned himself into a new leaf, but he also became something that one could take pride in. Although there were some debates on the internet, mostly between fangirls, talking about Evan's bad past, it didn't really affect him since Evan admitted that he did something bad in the past and apologized for it. Of course, most of them actually protected Evan because everything he did was for his beloved childhood sweetheart Isabel. He became even more popular since the public only knew there was only one girl by Evan's side. As long as they could get his heart, their status would be ridiculously high. Kai patted his shoulder and laughed. "Don't worry, I will lead us with my ears." "All right then," Evan agreed as Kai rose from his seat. He took out his device and called his teacher to tell her not to send another mission to them so they could rest after that high-stress battle. After that, Kai waved his hand, leading Evan to the student council room, where he found 25 people inside it. The first 5 in front of him were none other than the student council members. Well, the hero has finally come. Laura, the student council president, smiled, greeting him. It's nice to meet you again. Indeed. Kai smiled back before glancing to the right. There were two groups on his right. The one sat on the couch while the other one didn't. On the opposite side, he also saw the same arrangement. Let me introduce them. She pointed her hand toward them politely and spoke. This gentleman is the leader of the Golden Group, Samuel. Except for your and Isabel's groups, his Dawn Group holds the highest record right now. Behind him are his teammates. As for the one next to him, they are from one of the full offensive style groups in this school, Slayer Group. They are strong, you know. She smiled before pointing at the one in front of them. They are from the Grace Group, known as the female paradise since everyone was a girl. Their style is rather defensive, which is good for me. Last but not least, this female is the next student council president candidate, the leader of Tempest Group, Maria Smith. She is the most balanced group out there. Why are you even blabbering all the information about us, President Laura? Samuel narrowed his eyes. I mean, you can obviously search his fighting style on the internet easily. However, I know that he won't search for yours, because on the battlefield he currently faces, there is little to no information about the enemies. So he has been getting accustomed to it. Laura shrugged. Foo-foo, that's interesting. I wonder if I should also do that, said Maria with a calm expression. Kai might not know this, but Maria and Samuel had met right after he finished his group battle against Eagle Group in the past. They were talking about his group and how they needed to deal with him. Obviously, they've been following their progress ever since, not wanting to lose against someone in their generation. If not because Kai was already too far away, they would have challenged him in the group battle. Still, even though they had stopped, it didn't mean that the previous data was forgotten. After knowing that there was a chance to fight Kai, Samuel had been preparing himself. His previous arrogance was nowhere to be seen, since Kai had shut him up with his fighting prowess. But it didn't mean he had no intention of winning. He looked at Kai and said, "If we are fighting, I will be aiming for your neck." Kai only smiled and nodded. "I will be looking forward to it." "I think you all know that there is a condition for this fight, right?" Laura asked before explaining again. "Anyway, all four groups will attack the Lion Group together, where the Lion Group, without Tasha Carter and Sophia Campbell, has to handle each of your group alone. In other words, it will be a 1 versus 5 battle." Shh. Samuel clicked his tongue but didn't say anything. Even though he was frustrated by this arrangement, he knew his limit. There was no way that he could defeat the entire Lion Group alone, especially since Kai was also recognized as another S-rank magician and someone who was able to slay an S-rank magical beast. "I do have one requirement though." Kai raised his hand. "As you might already know, if someone on our side loses, we will lose. Hence, I would like for Evan to choose his opponent first, since he is originally a healer. I think you can give me this much of a leeway, right?" I can, but it depends on what the other four groups have to say." The four leaders looked at each other and nodded their heads in unison. Samuel then looked at Evan as if saying, "If you dare to pick us and prevent us from fighting Kai Carter, you are dead." Evan shrugged, knowing his own limit. With that limited information, he knew there was one group that even he could defeat. He pointed his forefinger toward the all-girls group, Grace Group. "Evan, I will be reporting this to Isabel." Kai facepalmed. "Why? Don't you think this is the best choice?" Kai smirked before laughing. "Anyway, since Evan has chosen the Grace Group, I think the arrangement will be like this. I will fight the Golden Group. Michelle will handle the Tempest Group, while Ayaka fights the Slayer Group. Does anyone have an objection?" Chapter 428. Next semester. After that discussion, there was no more schedule for the rest of the semester other than studying. Even Kai didn't do anything big other than hiding inside the room while thinking about his next plan. A month passed and the graduation came. Even though Tasha had more achievement, as one would expect, the student council president, Laura, still gave the graduation speech. Kai and the others attended the graduation, including their parents. As much as he hated to say it, he wanted Tasha to stay because he couldn't help but worry about her well-being. After promising that she would contact him from time to time, he decided to let her go. Of course, Tasha kept hugging her like there was no tomorrow, showing how Kai didn't want to part with her. Ayaka and Michelle got annoyed and dragged her before the Carter family had the time alone for graduation. They took a picture with their parents as well, but they soon got swarmed by students who idolized Kai, wanting to take a picture with him and Tasha together. Kai ended up giving them time to do that and satisfied their desire. After that, Sophia got a call, informing her to return to the EU base to prepare everything for Kai's transfer. She was satisfied since the last time she was in this base, she could meet Kai's parents, introducing herself to them. Fortunately, Kai's parents were easygoing, so they just accepted the idea, thinking that the more the merrier. As long as Kai chose them without any pressure, it meant that Kai had known the girl and trusted her enough, so there shouldn't be a problem. Both parents even volunteered to drive them to the airport the next day. Of course, they ended up having a small party with all the girls in Kai's house. It was a small party, but it felt very warm. They bid their goodbye in the airport without a fuss, since Sophia knew that Kai would go there in a month, so it was just a temporary farewell. Finally, 2 weeks later, it was the start of the new terms. Because of what happened in the base, most of the current first-year students idolized Kai Carter as an S-rank magician, the youngest lieutenant general, and one of the most powerful magicians in the base. To that end, Kai was asked to deliver a speech, to which he agreed. During the welcome ceremony, Kai took the stage with a smile. He looked at the 2,000 first-year students who got accepted today. I welcome you to this academy. I don't know if you already know me or not, but let me introduce myself. I'm Kai Carter. Currently, I am the captain of Lion Group, though one of our members has graduated recently. Anyway, I am not good with words myself, so I will only say 3 things. First, you don't need to look at your talent, because the one who can measure your talent is yourself. There is no machine in this world that can accurately tell your exact talent, so keep working hard. Set a goal for yourself. You have worked hard, but it's not enough. Search for another way. I did it in the past after all. The machine told me that I was only a D-rank magician. After changing my way of thinking, I finally reached this step and considered an unorthodox S-rank sound magician. Second, do research, because one does not simply get to aim big without any proper research and goal. This is the most important step to avoid getting killed along the way. This is what I believe. As long as you are still alive, the chance remains, so keep working hard and smart. Third, keep listening to your instructor. They are the best ones you can get. Kai smiled and finished his speech with one last message. I will be leaving this base for 3 months after this, so do your best in the meantime, okay? I am looking forward to your improvement during the time I'm away. And once again, welcome to Sacred Magic School. The students stood up and applauded as hard as they could. His speech wasn't something great, but it truly came from his experience. It also meant that these 3 were the best advice they could get from him. The principal then came to the stage with a smile. He was a middle-aged man with short, spiky black hair. He never saw him, to be honest, so he didn't care and only played along for the next thing. I can assure you that our teachers are good enough to give the best advice for you. After all, every single of our teachers has at least a few years of service in the military, so I hope you can do your best to improve in this school. And I would like to announce something that you all may like. It is about a group battle that Kai Carter will personally host. In this battle, he will be fighting 4 top groups at once. I hope that this battle can inspire you to become stronger. Don't forget to get achievements for what you have done, as you may have the chance to become an officer when you are still a student. Not only will it smoothen your career path, but it can give the base a sense of security. We will hold the battle tomorrow in our auditorium at 9 a.m., so don't be late, alright? The principal smiled and left the stage together with Kai. After that speech, there was a series of important messages that needed to be addressed, but Kai had left the building. Instead of going home, he decided to stay for a while, watching the students from the roof. To think I would be able to meet Senior Kai Carter today, I feel blessed. Indeed, he is an honest person, showing his concern without flowering his words. Right? Even though he is the youngest lieutenant general, he stays humble. There is no trace of him looking down on us. Indeed, now I am wondering whether I still can look up to an idol. I feel like my heart has been swayed by the military superstar. Haha, why don't you become another star in the military? Eh? Should I? You should. I'm just afraid there might be another trend of group bands in the military. But that sounds nice too. I don't care. I only want to look up to one person. He is Senior Kai Carter. Haha, look at you. You are love-struck. The majority of the students were talking the same thing, so it was truly him that brought such an enthusiast to the school. He just hoped that they didn't die on the battlefield, since it would be such a sad thing. To think that fate turned this way. Kai sighed and looked at the sky. I was just a slightly weird person who wanted to have a normal school life and get enough achievement to retire early. But who would have ever thought that I could become a lieutenant general this fast? The credit obviously goes to my teacher, since she has helped me with so many things. He smiled and disappeared from the roof, heading to his home. However, little did he know that most people couldn't get a wink of sleep because of the excitement the battle gave to them. They already heard the rumor about the battle, on how Kai and the others needed to handle one group each to win the battle. And yes, they imagined how Kai would actually beat the group he encountered. The one who got the most pressure was obviously the leader of the Golden Group, Samuel. He ended up staying up through the night, watching the moon while picturing how the battle would progress. He recalled what Kai said before leaving the student council room. Kai's face was still vivid in his memory. First of all, I don't want to give you a bad image. I don't mean to be rude or look down on you, but I think it's better if you can show your fighting prowess first, so the first-year students can understand your strength as well as your team play. This will benefit them in the long run. Second, I will fight back when the time has come, so please keep up with me, alright? I know that you all are thinking I'm arrogant, but instead of thinking about such a useless thing, I want to focus on what we can give to the new students, whatever the reason. Whether it's rivalry or anything, human lives matter the most. Hence, I will make sure that this is going to be useful for them. Thirdly, our agreement is to each person handling one of the groups here alone, but is to kill them, right? It doesn't mean anything about helping each other out as long as we don't kill their targets. This is also what I want to show them. No matter how hard the situation you are going through, you need to help each other out instead of thinking about your personal gain. I know that this is a bit too much to ask, but I hope that you can cooperate with me. Kai bowed to them without hesitation. There was no anger or shame in that expression of his, as if the entire thing was his genuine feeling about the fight. Even the four groups couldn't say anything when he acted this way and ended up agreeing. Golden Group agrees to this suggestion. However, we will still aim at your neck seriously. I'm looking forward to it. Kai nodded. Tempest Group also agrees. Grace Group will help you in this plan. My Slayer Group too. Thank you. Kai smiled. Thinking about this memory really pissed him off. It wasn't because he hated Kai. He was disappointed in himself as he couldn't come up with an idea like this. He let out a long sigh. Still, it doesn't mean I'm going to pull my punch. Chapter 429. Group Battle, Part 1. The next day, almost every single student and teacher came to the school. They all had one thing in common: witnessing the power Kai Carter had that allowed him to become Lieutenant General and kill an S-rank magical beast. In the auditorium, close to 4,000 people were waiting for the match to start. I wonder what kind of fight will we witness today? Right. If the media is allowed to be here, I think every single of them will enter this place. Either way, many bring their camera, so I'm sure it will go all over the internet pretty soon. I agree. This is a huge match after all. The auditorium was filled to the brim. Even some teachers and students needed to stand. Suddenly, the commentator, who turned out to be the same commentator that hosted Kai's previous battle, entered the arena with Shirotsuka Sanae. Test, test, test. Anyone can hear me, right? He asked while testing his mic. Yep, I think we can start. Teacher Shirotsuka, thank you for accompanying me for this match. I'm their instructor, so I will tell you what I know. Shirotsuka Sanae nodded with a serious expression. Alright. He grabbed his mic, stood up and shouted with excitement. Ladies and gentlemen, today we will witness a legendary battle between Lion Group and 4 top groups: Golden, Tempest, Grace, and Slayer groups. I will be your commentator for today's match. Let me introduce myself. I am Diego from the studio group. Teacher Shirotsuka, I wonder what you think about this match. I am not sure myself, but knowing Kai Carter's character, I think he has something he wants to show to all of the people here. I will try to discern what he wants to say and tell it to you guys. I hope I won't turn it into a lecture. Sanae chuckled. Oh, such a relaxed attitude from the king. No, not attitude. It's his duty. No matter his rank, I believe this fight has 2 purposes. 2 purposes. May we know about these 2 purposes? The first is to settle everything with the top groups. Indeed, my blood is boiling to see what kind of match they will have today. What's about the second purpose? It's for all the people here. He is a third-grade student, so he must think he has a duty to teach something to his juniors. After all, isn't this the original purpose of this fight? They want to show the experience of the seniors in this school so the new students can learn? I see. So, that's how it is. Diego became even more excited as he shouted. Do you hear it, guys? I know that you want to cheer someone in this battle, but don't forget to take a note, okay? Without further ado, let's call the fighters out. Diego then pressed the button on the table as the sign. Kai and his group, who had been standing by this whole time, noticed it and nodded at each other, entering the training capsule. Oh, this is it. I was once a commentator in his battle as well, so my happiness went through the roof when they told me that I could do it again. He then zoomed the camera to Kai and his group. As you all can see, they are the remaining members of Lion Group: Kai Carter, Michelle Graham, Kudo Ayaka, and Evan Young. I wonder who will fight who, considering that they are required to kill all the enemy groups by themselves. I have insider information, so I think it's fine to tell you guys. Kai Carter will be fighting the Golden Group. Ayaka has the similarity to Slayer Group, so she will handle them. Meanwhile, Michelle will handle the Tempest Group. Evan deals with the last one, Sanai explained with an uninterested expression after laughing so hard the moment she heard Evan's mission. Anyway, I think we should start the battle right now. What do you think, Teacher Shirotsuka? Yeah, that's fine. Alright, without further ado, let's start this battle in 321. He pressed another button on his table to inform the fighters about the battle. Kai and the others turned serious as Kai commanded. Just like our plan, I will take the left and Michelle will be the right. Ayaka and Evan will handle their opponents in the middle. Understood. The group nodded as they started moving to their position. Kai's battlefield turned out to be a forest. He knew what his opponents wanted to do and adjusted his plan. I see. This is good enough. 5 people arrived before him as they stared at Kai intensely as if they were ready to murder him. Kai smiled and looked at this group that consisted of 3 men and 2 women. So, I think we can settle it as soon as possible. What do you think? You're dead. Samuel gritted his teeth and shouted. Start. A blue-haired female suddenly leaped to Kai's left and created a blue magic circle, shooting ice spikes toward him. Kai didn't have a change of expression as he avoided the attack effortlessly. Suddenly, a muscular guy appeared above him and slammed his body against him, trying to pin him down. But Kai stomped the ground and grasped the man's head, stopping his momentum. What? He is this strong? The big man was bewildered as he never expected that Kai could stop his momentum this easily. This meant that behind his small build, Kai actually held a monstrous strength. Before he landed on the ground, Theo spun his body and used that momentum to launch the big guy toward the female. Watch out. The man couldn't avoid the collision, but luckily, the female managed to react and jumped as high as he could. Kai took this chance by leaping toward the girl with his sword, but a glaive user and a sword user arrived before him and swung their weapons to stop his advance. Kai didn't pour his strength at this time and allowed them to blow him away. However, that gave Samuel the chance to strike Kai as he summoned 5 flame pillars that looped around him, striking from the front and behind simultaneously. Kai already heard their movement and summoned a pair of shields to block this 2-direction magic. Boom, boom. A series of explosions echoed on the battlefield. But this was the same as a smokescreen for both Kai's eyes and ears, allowing the two to move. It turned out that their real intention was to hit Kai's head because of his position and shields. Now, shouted the sword user while swinging his sword toward Kai's head. The glaive user followed suit and struck Kai. Unfortunately, they had yet to succeed because Kai still stopped their attack by using both his swords. He spun his body and struck their weapons for the second time, pushing them back. As soon as he landed, he jumped toward the sword user and slashed him. But the muscular got into his way as he rammed him with his body. Kai narrowed his eyes and got blown away, crashing into the tree. However, the muscular guy screamed in pain while pressing his arm. Not long after, they found a trace of blood as it flowed out of his wound. What? Did he actually hit him while avoiding everything? Samuel widened his eyes in surprise as he clapped his hand, summoning 3 magic circles at once. Kai frowned when he found that William could do something like this, The person who could utilize more than one magic circle at a time should have a big reservoir that could store so much magic. I see. No wonder this guy can become the way he is now. Kai smiled while looking at the circles on top of him and the two sides. Instead of waiting, he created two oscillation shields simultaneously, stopping the fire that emerged from the magic circles. Meanwhile, Kai used his sword to deflect the magic and destroy the magic circle. You are good. What are you saying? You are a monster. Samuel clicked his tongue, knowing that Kai had yet to get serious in this fight. I'm not. Kai shrugged. He snorted. You are going down today. I'm looking forward to it. Kai smiled before noticing that the first female seemed to be busy, summoning walls after walls in their surroundings. Although he could destroy her here, he decided to wait a bit more so the Golden Group could have a better show next. Hopefully, it would be interesting enough to motivate the students. That glance was read by Samuel, thinking that Kai wanted to kill her first. He commanded, "Stop him." Although they couldn't understand the reason, they nodded their heads and charged at Kai. Shh. Kai grabbed the muscular guy's neck and threw it toward the ice magician, trying to break her concentration. However, the sword user interfered and caught that guy even though he needed to be pushed a few meters back. Meanwhile, Kai leaped toward the glaive girl and punched her on the stomach while saying, "Sorry, I don't have a grudge, but this is war. I can't show mercy." The glaive girl clenched her teeth and resigned to her fate, only to find that Samuel appeared behind her and caught her. When Kai was about to do a follow-up, he raised his head, finding a huge fireball on top of his head. Now, Theo never expected they would use something this big in this closed space, but when he believed that this guy must have a secret, the curiosity settled down. Oscillation shield. He activated his shield on top of his head and stopped that blast from hitting him. Boom! The smoke surrounded him again, but they seemed to have a plan already as they didn't move. Once he raised his vision, he saw a huge plate made of ice emerged from a blue magic circle, falling on top of the arena that the ice girl made, becoming its lid to lock Kai inside. Bam! With this, Kai Carter had been trapped. "This is the arena we have prepared to slay you, Kai Carter. Taste its might," shouted Samuel, as he was excited to see whether he could take down Kai or not. Chapter 430. Group Battle Part 2. To think we would have faced something so exciting just a few minutes into the battle, Diego shouted before looking at Sinai. "I'm sorry, teacher, but would you like to say something about the fight?" Kai Carter has yet to launch his attack. Sinai paused for a moment to give the time for them to realize before continuing. Anyway, he is trying to show you the power of the Golden Group. If you take another look at it, you will notice how the Golden Group actually takes care of each other. Before Kai Carter can hurt them, one of them will be taking that hit in the ideal form, slowly sealing his movement. This will give you an illusion of them suppressing him, which can stress your opponent. Even the magical beast will realize this and start doing something different. That's when you can kill it in one strike. In other words, you need to make sure that your allies are safe while fighting your enemy. This is a principle, explained Sinai while staring at Kai's movement. I see. Do you hear it, everyone? Your allies are the priority, because you can keep fighting as long as you have allies. Diego shouted while shifting the focus to someone else. Let's go see someone else. This time, it was Michelle's time to shine. Michelle encountered her enemies with a serious expression. Unlike Kai, she had no intention of holding back, so she quickly summoned both swords. She looked at the 5 people before her and said, "I need all of you to go down in 5 minutes. Are you looking down on us?" Maria Smith, the leader of Tempest Group, narrowed her eyes. "I am not. However, I have a job to do and I don't want to waste my time." Michelle smiled as she summoned Dark Michelle. "You handle the other 4. I'm going to handle her alone." "Sure thing." Dark Michelle shrugged before 4 scythes emerged from her back as she smiled. "Let's play with me." She jumped toward the group before Maria appeared right before her, trying to knock her down with her spear. However, Michelle came and struck her spear, using her shadow slash to cut the spear handle. Snap! Maria widened her eyes as she saw her weapon snapped on the first attack. Impossible. When the other 4 wanted to help her, Dark Michelle sent each of them a scythe, blowing them away. What power? What's that? A clone? They were confused because this had never happened before. In other words, this was new magic that Michelle created herself, and the strength behind that magic was far more powerful than anyone could think of. Seeing that her other self had controlled the situation, Michelle jumped toward Maria with her swords, ready to cut her down. Maria gritted her teeth and threw her spear toward her before using her magic, which was fire magic, and turning that fire into a spear. Even though she felt that her hand was melting, she endured it and wielded that spear while slowing down the burn. Interesting. Michelle smiled and bent down, slashing both swords on the ground. But that's useless. Shadow slash. Maria frowned when she saw the incoming shadow slash and decided to dodge it. She raised her hand as a magic circle appeared above Michelle's head. Michelle sighed and placed her hand on the ground as her shadow expanded before coming out of the ground, creating a roof above her. The fire ended up hitting that roof and exploded. It couldn't even reach her. Maria gritted her teeth as she never thought that Michelle had become this strong. It seemed that the success of Kai wasn't because of his ability alone. Michelle must have contributed to it. She sent another shadow slash toward her. Maria tried to fight it instead and threw her spear. The fire spear exploded and blew away the shadow slash. It's working. I will. Gah! Before she finished her thought, something seemed to hit her from behind as the pain began spreading all over her body. She looked down and found out that she had been stabbed by a scythe. What? She looked at Dark Michelle, who turned out to be aiming for her instead of the other four. She looked at Michelle, who already went toward the other four, preparing to attack them. You tricked me. She couldn't finish her words as she died with regret. Michelle, on the contrary, focused on her objective and killed the other fours. This battle ended within 3 minutes, even faster than Michelle's prediction. The time completely stunned everyone that witnessed it, because they never thought Michelle was this strong. However, they also didn't know what to think about her trick. It was kind of unhonorable to do something like that. Diego, who noticed the unrest in the students' hearts, quickly opened his mouth and directed everything to Shirotsuka-sanai. Oh, I'm surprised. Michelle Graham manages to beat the Tempest group in an instant. What's this concept, teacher? It's simply the difference of experience and skills. She sighed. First of all, her strength is already above them the moment she summons that clone of hers. However, the main part is when Michelle actually said that she was going to handle her while her clone took care of the other four. Her opponents believed that was the case and fought her with that thought in their mind. If they had more experience, they would be able to see through that simple lie, and Maria Smith didn't need to die. Unhonorable? I don't think so. On the battlefield, you need to come up with anything you can to win. Although this is a bit contradictory with what I've said earlier, I will pull an example of Rhea Ross for this. When she and 100 people fought against an S-rank magical beast in the past, the fight that made her famous, her comrades prepared to die and held the frog down so she could kill that frog. Why? Because they have been fighting for hours without casualties. Because Rhea Ross had been keeping the frog at bay. However, the situation would become worse since the S-rank magical beast had millions of followers. If they didn't hurry, this situation would become disastrous. Knowing it, her teammates decided to sacrifice their lives so she could kill it. This is what I mean by doing everything you can. There will be a time you need to choose whether to protect your honor or life. I can't express my admiration to those who fell in that battle, and I don't have any intention to mock them by telling you as an example. When you go to the battlefield, make sure you have the heart to do something like that. Even Kai Carter has tried to sacrifice himself to win in many battles, setting oneself as a bait. I think that's not dishonorable at all. It's clever. She smiled and finished her explanation. This was always a debatable topic, but she thought she had explained it pretty well. Thank you for your lecture, teacher. Diego thanked her before switching to another person. Let's take a look at Kudo Ayaka then. This time, Ayaka had been surrounded by all 5 people, trying to attack her from all directions. However, Ayaka's agility seemed to be better, and every time she swung that heavy spear, she would blow someone away. Her battlefield was near Evan, so he could see his fighting progress. Although Evan was suppressed this whole time, he still managed to escape with his speed that had been boosted by his magic. Even Grace Group became frustrated to see Evan running away like a coward. However, they forgot the fact that Evan was a healer instead of a fighter. It was normal for a healer like Evan to run away since Evan didn't have single offensive magic due to the limitation of his magic. Yet, the Grace group suffered injuries because of his bullets and explosives. Suddenly, Ayaka raised her hand diagonally and summoned the magic circle. Go! A fire pillar emerged from the magic circle before curving to the ground due to gravity. Watch out! One of the Grace group's members shouted, noticing that fire magic. The group halted their movement as the pillar hit the ground, turning it into blazing soil. That was when Evan bent his knees to use the flame to cover his body before changing his bullet to an explosive one and shooting it toward one of them. Bang! The bullet flew. The flame completely blinded them, and when it reached the woman, it was too late. The bullet exploded and killed a single of them while injuring two others. Nice assist! Evan smiled. This help truly overturned the entire battle. Meanwhile, the Slayer group realized that they might have been prohibited from killing someone from the other group that wasn't their opponent, but it didn't say anything about helping them. Ayaka just reinforced Diego's words about a team needing to take care of one another. Damn, we were too careless. Suppress her right now. The leader of the Slayer group shouted. Ayaka saw their movement and smiled before turning around and running from them as if she had no intention to fight them right now. Don't give her time. She might help Evan Young again, or vice versa. They nodded their heads and watched out for a bullet coming from Evan's direction. Suddenly, Ayaka turned 90 degrees to the left, completely changing their direction. Chase her. When they changed direction, Ayaka smiled and pointed her hand again to the sky, preparing for another cannon. She is going to attack them again. Block her. All four of them quickly jumped to block Ayaka's attack the moment she launched her. But it turned out to be another trick. With them in the air, there was no way for them to dodge anything before they landed. Hence, Ayaka gave them a big surprise as a magic circle appeared where they were supposed to land. It was her magic bomb that she'd planted not long ago, and the timing was perfect. Surprise. The group's face became pale as they gritted their teeth. Boom. Chapter 431. Group Battle, Overwhelming Victory. I am sorry, but I really need to do this, said Evan while pointing his gun at the Grace group leader's head. Haha, this is your win. There is no need to apologize. Although the support was a surprise, you didn't break any rules. We are the one who needs to be ashamed, because we can't do anything to a healer who has no offensive magic. She let out a long sigh and closed her eyes. After hearing the last word, he pulled the trigger, killing her. Meanwhile, the cheers outside had turned into an uproar, as they never expected that the situation turned this way. Diego stood up and shouted, Is this the real power of the Lion Group? Even I can understand what they have done to win against the two groups. First of all, Kudo Ayaka launched that attack to warn the Grace group that she could hit them, allowing Evan Young to kill two people. However, there was another meaning to that move. The Slayer group, who had been chasing her, obviously knew that the situation would become worse when Ayaka hit the Grace group once again. Hence, they chose to protect them. It turned out to be another feint coming from Kudo Ayaka, where she used that opportunity to kill four of them. Without having any support, Kudo Ayaka overwhelmed the captain of the Slayer group in one-on-one. It's truly a marvelous fight, since we can see that even if their position was not near each other, they still looked out for each other and helped them. This is how a top group fights in a battle. I want everyone to remember it because you have seen yourself how effective this technique is. Diego then turned to Sanai and asked, What is your thought about this, teacher? Sanai thought for a moment and answered, It's like you said. From what I have heard from Kai Carter, he wanted the group to understand what the others could do. In other words, they could help each other without even talking. I'm sure that the other top groups can do this as well, but this is just a plain difference in power. What the Lion Group had faced this whole time were far greater threats than any one of you could imagine. I would just leak one of their missions, which I considered to be a less dangerous one. They once had gone to the Amazon forest and annihilated 50,000 magical beasts within 2 weeks. Although this was done together with the Eagle Group, you should understand the difficulty of this mission, right? And there were some more dangerous missions which I couldn't disclose. Kai Carter always said to aim high to progress faster, but you shouldn't forget to make your safety the priority, as he himself doesn't like to see any of you die. Sanai finished her explanation and closed her eyes. Thank you once again, Teacher Shirotsuka. Diego thanked her politely before his vision returned to the screen. With this, There is only one match left. It's the battle of Kai Carter and the Golden Group. However, the moment he changed the screen to Kai, he was stunned to see the messy battlefield. The ground was ripped as if it was hit by something big. The trees were shredded apart, with splinters spread all over the area. They couldn't see anyone there other than Kai, who happened to kill Samuel. What exactly happened earlier? Diego dropped his jaw. This can be counted as Kai Carter's victory, but we need to see the actual footage first. He changed it again to a recording of when Kai was trapped inside ice blocks. Kai stood there while focusing his hearing on the sound in his surroundings. Suddenly, he took 2 small steps to the right before a spike came out of the ground, trying to pierce his head. Then, he raised his vision, finding something above the ice ceiling. He activated his oscillation shield to block whatever it was while looking at the surroundings, specifically the people he located with his ears. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions occurred as fire magic bombarded the ice ceiling. This was supposed to hit Kai because of the position, but Samuel realized that there was a magic circle beneath it, blocking those explosions. What? He widened his eyes before looking at his teammate, shouting, "Seal the lid again. I understand." The female magician created another magic circle to trap him again, but Kai's voice echoed in the area. "This is it. I will start right now." "Kay, hurry!" Samuel shouted, panicking. Kai didn't give him time to do it and leaped to the ice block that emerged from the magic circle. Activating his supersonic sword that caused a sonic boom continuously, he slashed that big ice into 2. The 2 parts were then launched to the side, hitting Samuel and the other guy. Bang, bang. Because of the size and sudden show of power, the 2 barely reacted. Although they managed to block that ice block, they were still blown to the ground. Kai then looked at the ice magician and created a sound blast, launching himself toward her. "I'm sorry, but you're going to die first." "Hi!" She leaped back to avoid Kai, but to no avail. The other 2 charged at him to protect their teammates, but Kai already predicted it and summoned 2 sound oscillation shield above him, blocking their attacks simultaneously. Then, he used Sound Blast to send the 2 flying while making his way toward the ice magician. Knowing that she couldn't escape death, she gritted her teeth and placed her hand on the ground, summoning a giant magic circle. Walls of ice emerged from the ground, creating a small labyrinth to stop Kai for a few seconds, but she underestimated Kai's prowess. That small wall was nothing in his presence, as they were cut like butter with the vibration before the ice destroyed the wall near them because the sound blast launched. Then, it took him 1 leap to close his distance with the female magician as she tried to attack him for one last time. He couldn't help but feel impressed by her determination and smiled. "You're strong. Keep doing it, okay?" Although she knew that the magic didn't have enough time to be fired and felt immense regret to be eliminated this soon, she couldn't help but smile when hearing his praise. "Thank you." Theo smiled and deactivated his supersonic sword, as it only became a normal vibration sword, and cut her neck. He then looked around and found that Samuel was the first to recover, so he went straight at him with a normal pace. "I'm not going to let you." He summoned a magic circle, ready to fire an attack. At the same time, the big guy managed to recover not long after him and charged at Kai to stop his movement. Fire missile. A cylindrical fire flew out of the magic circle. Suddenly, Kai smiled and halted his movement before creating a sound oscillation in front of him. Samuel dropped his jaw before shouting, "Watch out!" Kai's real aim turned out to be his teammate. He must believe that someone would come after him when he did this. Taking advantage of it, he used this chance to direct Samuel's attack to his own teammate. "You!" Samuel gritted his teeth, regretting his choice. Unfortunately, everything was too late. The fire already hit Kai's oscillation shield and exploded, engulfing his teammate that couldn't dodge in midair. Still hearing the heartbeat from the muscular guy, he smiled and retracted his shield. After locating that figure of his, Kai raised his foot and stomped the guy, pinning him to the ground before slashing his neck. This was a simple trick, but quite good in a battle like this. Because Samuel already knew his intention, Kai turned around and charged toward the guy he blew away before killing the ice magician. She was alone this time, so it shouldn't be that hard to kill her. Remembering what happened to his big teammate, he hesitated to launch his magic since their position was aligned. If Kai dodged it, he would just murder his teammate again. However, Kai once again took advantage of this situation and slashed his sword downwards. Kai widened his eyes when he saw her raising her sword before jumping 2 meters high without even a posture to do so. Wind magic? Either way, it's not good enough. Kai smiled and sent another strike with his other sword. The girl tried to block that sword but didn't know what kind of power it held. This sword was the supersonic sword. The moment it struck her weapon, it snapped into two before cutting her and the tree behind her into two. The sound blast also shredded the tree, blowing away the splinters. He then turned around and headed straight to the last teammate. Seeing this, Samuel couldn't contain his anger and charged at him instead. His teammates seemed to be ready to intercept Kai, so Samuel could hit him at least once. But they simply underestimated Kai's speed too much. He activated another sound blast to increase his speed. It was fast enough to shock his opponents as he cut another one into two, along with the trees nearby. That one big swing caused the trees to fall. And obviously, Samuel had his own share too. The moment Samuel's eyes raised a bit, Kai smirked and leaped toward him, kicking him on the stomach. Gah! Samuel spat a mouthful of blood before he realized the disparity between them. Instead of regretting the battle, he smiled when he saw Kai arrive before him. As expected from Lieutenant General Kai Carter. It's an honor to fight you. Kai smiled. You will be getting stronger from now on, I guarantee it. Thanks. Samuel closed his eyes as Kai cut him, ending the group battle with a shock. Chapter 432, Departure, Overwhelming. There is nothing I can say, other than this word to describe the fight. Lion Group has shown an unprecedented level of fighting ability. There's no need to doubt again the fact that they have fought an S-rank magical beast, which ultimately got killed by their leader, Kai Carter. Diego stood up and shouted out loud. If I need to tell you about my current feeling, it's nothing but excitement. The Lion Group has just set a new record, far surpassing that in the academy. He then looked at Sanai and asked, What do you think about Lion Group's strength, teacher? Sanai pondered for a moment before explaining. I have nothing to say other than powerful. Let's take a look at Evan, who is the healer of the party. He has no offensive battle, but the way he moves has been honed to that degree. I'm sure that not many students can catch him when he's running. If I am not wrong, he can enhance his ability as well, but I'm not well versed in this since I've never asked him. Then, let's move to Kudo Ayaka. She has power and speed under her belt, allowing her to manipulate the entire battle by showing an unbelievable fighting style that emphasizes momentum. She also can use her powerful fire magic, as expected from an A-rank magician. Something like this is to be expected. I don't mean to make the other groups look bad. They are strong if you take another look at them. Unfortunately, the Lion Group is simply too strong. But this is also the reason why the government makes an exception to their captain, Kai Carter. Now you can see the difference between normal people and a lieutenant general, right? Anyway, before talking about him, let's discuss Michelle Graham. I'm sure that you think she is too reliant on tricks, but I can assure you that you haven't seen anything yet. That scythe is something that can kill the mutated magical beast, while her sword can cut almost everything. If you don't know about the S-rank magical beast, you can imagine having thick steel compressed to cover them. If you don't trust me, you can search for it on the internet. I'm sure that the government has made a statement about it. Last but not least, Kai Carter. Not only his ability, but his mind is top-notch. He has become a strategist of large battles a few times, and everything leads to victory. Hence, I believe he must have devised the plan for this battle. For his strength, I think I don't need to explain it again, right? That powerful vibration sword can almost cut everything. And the sonic boom phenomenon is more than enough to damage an S-rank magical beast. I can only apologize to the Golden Group who needs to fight him. That's all my opinions. I don't think I will add anything more. Sanai finished her speech with one warning, that she wouldn't answer any more questions. Diego understood that and thanked her. I believe that this battle can't show their real strength, but I can assure you that they're far stronger than what you have seen. I'm sure that all of you are excited to try it yourself, becoming the second Kai Carter, right? I will pray for your success. Hereby, I announce that the group battle has officially ended. Thank you for your time to come all the way here. Diego out. Diego closed the screen, signaling that everyone was over. Meanwhile, Kai and the others met the groups they fought earlier. Kai shook Samuel's hand with a smile. "Thank you." Samuel thanked him. Although frustration remained on his face, he seemed to have grasped something more important other than winning or losing. "I like your expression." "I wish you luck." Kai nodded. "If it's not bothering you, I wonder if I can ask your advice for our group?" Samuel asked with a hesitant tone. "Sure, if you don't mind." They started discussing what he found unnecessary before talking about their strength. Samuel was amazed by the extent of his knowledge. On the other hand, the other three also explained what they saw from their opponent. Since this would lead to an improvement, Michelle and the others also asked about their weakness. This battle turned into a good exchange between students, which satisfied Kai. "How about having a party? It doesn't need to be in a fancy restaurant, just a regular one where we can talk." Kai invited them, to which the other three also agreed. After contemplating for a while, the four groups accepted his invitation as they all went toward a nearby restaurant. The students and teachers who watched the battle also discussed the battle, though most topics were just them praising Kai's strength and idolizing him. This was how the group battle ended, which seemed to be a win-win situation. At the very least, he could satisfy the new students and his opponents. Soon after, they returned to their home. Knowing Kai would soon leave for the EU base, Ayaka and Michelle visited him daily while bonding with his parents. Of course, Kai noticed that both his parents and the two girls had been hinting at each other about marriage. After a long while, they seemed to agree to hold the marriage within 2 years after Kai graduated. In other words, it would be when he was 21 or 22 years old. It was considered late in this era, to be honest. But this was Kai they were talking about, so this number was rather acceptable for both parties. His mother was in euphoria since there would be a hint that she would get a grandchild soon, which Kai rebuked by telling her that it would only happen in 3 or 4 years at the minimum. Even so, the thought of marriage alone was already enough for her. Kai also believed that 2 years after graduation would be a perfect time to handle it, since he planned to get the 4th star during his 3rd year. After that, he would consolidate his relationship with both Sophia and Haruko during the 2 years while preparing their marriage. After that, Kai needed to settle the conflict between him and the Katsuragi family. There was also a plan to rescue Ayaka's grandfather, and Kai wanted to settle it before his marriage. He had many things going on with his priority, leaning on his identity as the human race's protector. Those from the sea had given enough hints to make them realize that they were trying to destroy the entire US base, so he needed to become the real protector as soon as possible. That was why he would need to go to the place Oni Protector Ishii had told him, and there seemed to be someone pulling the string the moment he arrived at the EU base, so he needed to negotiate with them again, even if it meant extending his stay there. After another 2 weeks, it was time to part. Kai went to the airport accompanied by his family. Of course, Ayaka and Michelle tagged along. Even Nathan, Rhea, and President Brent came to see him off. "Sophia is the limit, okay? Don't you dare to look for another woman." Michelle pouted and looked away. "Haha, I know. I have my hands full with you guys, so how can I search for another one? Besides, I'm not actively searching any of you guys, you know." Kai let out a long sigh. "That's true. Anyway, just be careful and take care of yourself. I'm ready to head there at any moment's notice." "Sure thing. I will endeavor to prevent such a thing from happening." "Good." Michelle smiled and kissed him before letting Ayaka say her piece. "Well, I don't have anything to say other than be careful. What you plan to do is extremely dangerous, so, I'm not good with words." She flustered and ended as kissing him. "Anyway, take care of yourself." "Of course, your wish is my command." Kai smiled. Nathan then stepped forward as he clung to Kai while shouting, "I don't want you to go. I'm sure that they're trying to pull something when you're there." "Grandfather." Michelle's eyebrows twitched as she pulled him off. "You're bothering him." "But granddaughter, grandfather, it's enough. This time it's really annoying. I trust him, so I will believe that he can handle everything that comes his way. However, even if it's a joke, what you are doing is too annoying. Ugh. Now you have become like my daughter-in-law, your mother. It seems that I can't sleep well tonight." Nathan dropped to the ground and lamented Michelle's change. Meanwhile, President Brent shook Kai's hand and smiled. "I wish you luck. Although I don't want to admit it, their technology is the best among the 3 bases. Of course, we have our own technology and research, but I believe you should understand their technology and probably acquire it for yourself. That's the plan. I will just see which one can help me. Kai nodded with a serious expression. And I'm sorry for making you be here. Don't mind. No one knows about it, and it's not my working hours yet, so it's fine. Anyway, good luck. Thanks. Kai nodded before turning to Ria Ross. I only have one thing I want you to do. Ria patted his shoulder before clutching it. Teacher? Kai tilted his head in confusion. Sophia's grandfather is the EU base's strongest, right? Beat him for me. Eh? Kai blinked his eyes a few times, not believing what he just heard. Yes, beat him for me. Since I can still beat you, it means that if you are above him and I'm above you, it will solidify my position as the world's strongest. She gave a thumb up. Ha ha ha. Kai shook his head helplessly. I'm curious about his strength, so I will do it if there's a chance. After saying goodbye to all of them, he turned around and waved his hand while walking toward his plane. Then everyone. I'm going. Chapter 433. EU Base. Welcome to Charles de Gaulle Airport. Kai looked at that huge signboard as he finally arrived at his destination. Well, my departure is not announced, so only a few people will come to get me, which is lucky on my part, Kai muttered while looking around as he looked around. He opened his device and activated the translator mode, as it would record the voice of people near him to translate them. Well, I'm not good at French, so a translator might help. Kai walked forward, looking at all types of merchandise that spread in so many stores. He would probably buy something for the others, but he would only do it on his way home. After messaging Sophia, he waited for a second because he was sure that Sophia would message him back as soon as possible. And it turned out he was right. We are right outside. You just need to walk a bit more from the departure area and you will find me. Besides that message, Sophia kept muttering his name as if giving him a signal where to go. Of course, no one heard her. But for Kai, it was loud enough for him to get the direction. He followed the sound and soon found 3 people coming to get him. The first person was none other than Sophia. She waved her hand as soon as she found him, to be exact, his giant flame that she recognized. After all, not a single person could be compared to that flame that symbolized Kai's danger level. We're here, shouted Sophia, wearing a big smile. Kai nodded with a smile before looking at the person next to her. The first one was a middle-aged man wearing a formal suit. He had spiky hair, sharp eyes, and a muscular body. He was emanating a powerful aura like the ones he had seen so far. He then continued to the second person, who seemed to be an elderly man. He had the same hair color as Sophia's, and even the same length tied into a ponytail. Despite his old age, his eyes hadn't lost their luster, and his face had yet to be filled with wrinkles. There was no doubt that this old man was an expert. Kai came over with a smile and introduced himself. Hi, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Kai Carter. The middle-aged man stretched his hand and shook Kai's hand while saying in English, It's our pleasure to invite the genius, Kai Carter. I'm the Minister of Defense, Arnaud Kaplan. If you feel Arnaud is hard to pronounce, just call me Kaplan. I am responsible for your safety here, so if you're going somewhere important, please tell me first. I understand. I would inform you about it. But if possible, I would like to not invite attention. Hence, I would like to go to another place by myself, but I think that's impossible, right? Ha ha ha, that's impossible. He shook his head helplessly and continued, Although you are forbidden to go alone, as long as someone can guarantee your safety, we can allow you to make that trip. I understand. I will inform you when that time comes. Kai nodded before turning to the other person. This is my... When Sophia was about to introduce her grandfather, he already cut in while shaking Kai's hand. Hello, I'm Jules Campbell. It's my pleasure to see the soon-to-be strongest person in the US base. My blood is boiling right now. How about we have a go? Ahaha. I can't say that I don't have the interest, but maybe next time. Kai shook his head. To think that the person his master wanted to beat was him, he truly couldn't comprehend. For now, I want to fulfill my side of the condition first. Maybe we can fight when I'm about to return. Indeed, I will wait for you. He nodded with a smile before his grip became stronger, and his smile disappeared. He released a killing intent as he shouted, You brat! I'm still not giving you my granddaughter. Kai's eyebrows twitched before he forced a smile and said, "Of course, I'm here to discuss it as well. I wonder if you have the time to discuss it with me, along with Sir and Madam Campbell." Eh? He suddenly stopped and stared at Kai with a dumbfounded expression, not expecting this answer. It soon turned into annoyance as he said, "Oi, oi, that's not the line you're supposed to say, you know. Can't you actually fulfill this old man's wish? I really want to say that line with you reacting properly." "Ha ha ha, is that so? You shouldn't tell Sophia about your intention if that's the case." Kai remained calm and handled this grandfather well. "I couldn't promise to do it soon, but I swear that everything will be settled in 3 years. I hope Sir Campbell can understand my circumstances." Jules narrowed his eyes and shook his head helplessly. "Whatever. Come to my house later since you want to talk about it. It's not going to be long anyway." "I will." Kai nodded. "By the way, I am supposed to go to the academy, right? I will send you to the academy dorm later. For now, let's continue the negotiation." He then turned to Arnaud and asked, "How about you explain it to him while we are going to the embassy to deal with the paperwork a bit?" "I understand." Arnaud then turned to Kai. "I will be informing you everything you need to know here, including the academy. Is that fine?" "Yes." "Then, let's go to the car." Jules turned around, leading them to exit the airport. Meanwhile, Arnaud started talking. "I'm supposed you already know about the government system, right?" "Yes. Unlike United Asia's decentralized government, which is controlled by a single family in their region, and US-based democracy, this one seemed to be maintaining their border. No, should I say, despite the big incident back then, it remained as European Union. This may look like United Asia, but they all have their own program and report to the Union, so the synergy is there." Kai nodded in understanding. Arnaud nodded with a smile and explained. "Exactly. Back when that happened, only 5 areas remained: France, Germany, Spain, Netherlands, and Austria. The others were either wiped out or managed to seek refuge here. Luckily, we have gained back Sweden on the north and the entire west area, Italy, and up to Poland to the east. All the people who came from there had returned to their own country and formed a government from scratch. In total, we have 11 countries right now. Now, you are in France and will attend the La Martiniere School as a third-year student. This school system is a bit different than yours. Unlike you, who form a group, we fight alone because we have the technology to do something like this. Of course, there will be someone controlling the deployment, so I'm sure you will see it later." Kai agreed in amazement, as this was also the result of his research about the EU base. "I am looking forward to seeing something like that." "Haha, you can when you enter the school. I believe there is a class for a special unit. All of them have an exoskeleton, you know." "Oh, that's an interesting class, I guess?" Kai smiled. "I wonder what the chain of command here is. I know that my rank is useless here, but I think my words still weigh a lot, right? Unless you are trying to shut me up?" Arnaud let out a long sigh and nodded. "Yes, although your words weigh a lot, we can't really give you any leadership because it will hurt the people's trust. At most, we can give you an advisor role or a captain position for an elite group. That's all the things we can give you. I have no hope for this when I come here, so I don't really mind. However, I just want you to know that I won't agree to a ridiculous command." Kai narrowed his eyes. "I understand that. I will also tell those people about it." He nodded before adding, "That's right. There is something that you need to know. Unlike the US base that allows you to get a mission once a month, this place only allows you 1 week break. We believe that fighting on the battlefield will give you more benefits than studying in the school, since most subjects are about battles." "I understand. I don't mind that since I only have one request, which is to investigate one place. After that, I can follow the instructions." Kai nodded, before noticing the noises from the outside. "I think we've arrived." "Yeah." Arnaud then looked at Sophia and Jules, asking, "Would you like to accompany us?" "Nope." Sophia shrugged. "I'll be waiting here. You can go." "That stuff tires me out," Jules said nonchalantly. "Ahaha." Kai chuckled before signaling Arnaud to continue, even if it were only 2 of them. Arnaud understood and opened the car door, leading Kai inside. Chapter 434. Campbell Family. After completing the paperwork, Arnaud led Kai's back. Right in front of the car, he shook Kai's hand and said, We will be sending our agent to monitor you as well since we can't afford to have you move so freely. Can't you just ask Sophia to do it? And it's not like I'm planning something like that. Kai tilted his head in confusion. We would like to, but if we consider Sir Jules's character, I'm afraid that you won't know what kind of trick he will pull off. That's why we are sending our agent too. Don't worry, I believe that her strength is good enough for you. Arnaud nodded. The missions will be directed by the Academy, so I won't say anything for now. I understand. I will do my best here so as to not create any trouble. Kai nodded with a smile, assuring him, "Thank you, that's what we like." Kai then returned to the car as they drove toward Campbell family's mansion, as one would expect from a big family with the strongest magician as the former head. The mansion was huge. The area alone was 3 times the size of a football field. They needed more than 10 people to take care of everything inside the house. Kai listened to every single sound in this house. As expected, the family's head had been waiting for him, especially after getting a call from Jules. "So, what do you think about this house?" Jules asked with a poker face. There was no telling what he was thinking. Kai fell silent for a moment before answering, "Troublesome. Indeed. It's hard to maintain this kind of lifestyle, but I don't think you will regret having one house like this in the future." He smiled. "Why so?" "You can build a special research center and other things. Besides, your family can move around without feeling restricted. No matter what you want to say, you have multiple wives. There's no way you will only have one kid, right? When you become older, it will feel even more cramped. Although I don't mean to look down on your kid, it's hard for your kid to surpass you, so it's best to prepare everything for them, you know." He explained his reasoning. "That's reasonable." Kai looked down with his hands supporting his cheek, contemplating this matter. As he said, it might be good to think about the future, not about 10 years from now, but 100 years from now. Because of his identity as a protector, he believed that he would live for a few hundred years. Although at that time he would have gone somewhere to hide himself, there was no way he could abandon his descendants just like that. Jules's reasoning really touched his heart, as he knew that this advice was something he needed to consider. He smiled and nodded. "Thank you for the advice. I will seriously think about it." "Good. That's all I want to say. For now, let's come out and meet my son." He returned his smile and came out of the car. There was a middle-aged man standing before them. His silver, shaggy hair revealed a thin face. His round green eyes emanated an aura of the unknown, as if it were the calm before the storm. Unlike Jules, who kept his beard, he didn't have a single of it on his face, making him look a bit younger than his actual age. He wore a plain shirt and left it unbuttoned at the top for a more casual look. The jacket fit covered his thin body and even made him look bigger. He wore pants that had the exact style of the jacket, both in color and pattern. "I have been waiting for you, Kai Carter." The man stretched his hand while introducing himself. "I'm Bastien Campbell. My wife, Regine, is inside, preparing the lunch for us by herself. She seems to be eager to do it, so you can expect something good since she was a chef."
Thank you.
"My name is Kai Carter. Please call me Kai, Sir Bastien. In that case, you can call us Uncle and Aunt too." He nodded as he shook his hand. "When I first saw you in the news, I thought you would become big sooner or later, but this is outside my prediction. It seems that you are a far bigger man than I have seen you this whole time. I am thankful for the praise, but I am just a simple man trying to live to the fullest, you see." Kai smiled. "Aha, indeed. With your status, you can certainly deal with many things while ignoring most of them. Either way, let's go inside first." Kai nodded as Bastien led them inside. The interior of the house was similar to that of the Graham family's mansion, so he thought nothing of it and only focused on Jules's movement. He suddenly grabbed Bastien's shoulders while saying, "Come on, Bastien, you should hear this. This guy doesn't even want to play along with my joke. You should tell him to do it." "Father, let's not bother Kai. He must have been exhausted due to the long fight. Besides, it's your fault. You should act more properly. Look at the family. If you don't have grandfather and me managing the family, our Campbell family would have declined under your leadership. Also, don't squander too much money. We have been in the red because of you. And if you think this is not enough, I have a ton of complaints to you. I hope you can hear every single of them." Unlike Michael, Bastien shut Jules up without mercy. "Oi, Oi, don't embarrass me in front of my soon-to-be grandson-in-law, he harumphed. Besides, if I take another commission from the union, we can easily go over our loss. And how about you go right now? Don't worry. It will only be a month. We won't miss you. And do you think it's that easy to manage the family? A person can attain so many riches, but if he doesn't know how to properly manage it, he will become poor again. Bastien shook his head helplessly. Oh, son, how about backing your father up a bit? I am helping you right now, helping you to fix yourself, and we have gotten the complaint from the Alliance. It's true that you're the strongest in the world, but no one can stay as the strongest forever. You should be more careful and not make unnecessary enemies. Fortunately, I have dealt with it and gained their approval for this position. But you only have 3 months for it before the former principal takes office again. If not, I will just sell you to the union, since I'm sure we can get enough money to last for 7 generations. Son, you are merciless, aren't you? Jules's eyebrows twitched, looking at his savage son. If you are a proper father, I won't say something like this, since everyone, including me, makes mistakes from time to time. Unfortunately, you are too willful, so we have gotten so many problems because of you. But I get you allies. 10 allies can't be compared to 100 enemies. He face-palmed and glared at him. Anyway, just stay inside the academy starting from tomorrow, or you won't realize what I will do to you until it's too late. Jules looked down, feeling sad. Fine. Kai couldn't help but smile when listening to these two. Although he didn't say it, Bastien truly loved and took care of Jules. They then arrived at their destination, the dining room. As one would expect from a wealthy family, their dining room was so big, the table was long enough to even host more than 20 people. The golden chandelier in the middle of the room increased the exquisiteness of this room. There were 2 pairs of windows on the other side of the room where they could see the relaxing garden and gave enough light to the room. That's right. Where is brother? Sophia suddenly opened her mouth. He is still on the mission. I thought about introducing him to Kai Carter, but it's impossible right now. Bastien shook his head in disappointment, recalling how he had convinced him to come back but got rejected. Come on, Bastien. You should know about this, but Richard is holding the fort, so he truly can't return. As the person who just came out of the grueling warfare, I'm sure you know this. Warfare is not something to be treated lightly. I know it, father. But there is no imported movement from the magical beasts, so it should be fine to return for a while. It's just 1 day. Bastien clenched his teeth before sighing. Well, I can't blame him as well, since this is his choice. He turned to Kai and apologized. Sorry for making you see that. And as much as I want to introduce my son to you, I'm afraid it's impossible. Don't worry, uncle, I can understand that. It's also the reason why I'm planning to settle everything first in 3 years before settling down. Kai shook his head. I see. I won't say anything about your vision. If you think you don't know where to go, you can come to me for advice. I will try to offer you a solution. Bastien nodded with a smile before looking at the door. Creak. The door was opened as someone gradually entered the room with a trolley. The one who brought them was a female in her late 20s. Her light green curly hair braided to avoid touching any food when cooking. Bright amber eyes set appealingly and brought a joyful atmosphere with her. She wore a white dress wrapped around her waist and covered them with an apron. She looked at them while smiling. Ah, you all are here. Come on, let's eat. Talking is best with a full stomach. Chapter 435, Marriage Talk. After finishing their meal, Bastien thought for a moment and asked Kai with a serious expression. So, are you going to start, or do you want me to start? Kai understood what he wanted to say and nodded. He politely lowered his head and said politely, I would like to ask Sir Bastien for Sophia's hand in marriage. I know that I'm asking much, but I can't really do anything for 3 years from now. I can't say anything about the reason, but you can say that this entire world is in the middle of the sea, waiting for the big storm to come. Kai's expression was serious and his tone was severe. You know something we don't know? Bastien frowned and realized something. Your government know about this as well? None. It's only me. Kai shook his head. Well, maybe my teacher knows about it too, but all the main matter, I'm the only one. Ahaha. It seems that our soon-to-be son-in-law has been battling something that we don't know. I think I need to thank you. Regine was humming with a smile, fully believing what he said. You believe me? Kai widened his eyes in amazement. This could be easily interpreted as a lie, because this was the only thing he knew. Regine also understood that, but she explained. Lie or not, I know that you indeed have something important. The moment you know about the talking magical beasts you called protectors, that's the only thing we need to know. After all, I'm sure they are related to this. Unfortunately, when your government and even your teacher don't know much about this, I'm sure that we're not supposed to know it either, but if you need any help, just call us. Although we consider things for the Union most of the time, we are still fighting for humanity. That's why you don't need to worry about the date. Your promise alone is enough for us. Besides, you are underestimating your position too much. I don't know if you have realized it or not, but the moment you speak one thing, the whole world will know about it. You can easily raise people's opinions to protect yourself or attack someone. This is the importance of your words. Regine explained clearly with a smile. Kai was taken aback by that response. When he heard about Sophia's grandfather, he thought he needed to argue with them, but it turned out that her parents were so reasonable. I think my wife has said everything. I will only add 2 points. First, I don't care about your problem, but we can't govern a place without its citizens. The only reason why humans can unite is because they have a mutual enemy. Hence, call us when you need help. Of course, we won't stretch our hand if you're trying to have your revenge against the Katsuragi family. Second, I don't like a breakup. I'm sure that someone like you must have considered everything and committed to your own promise, so I will watch over your relationship until both of you are ready. Even though I don't have multiple wives for various reasons, I don't condemn it either, unless it's too big. I mean, come on, you're expecting me to say that you will give everything to your wives when you actually have 10 or more. I can't believe something like that. The family will be messy sooner or later when you have a child, and you need to apply your strength to make your own words heavier. I don't wish to see such a toxic family. Since you have your own problem, I will try to assist you in any way you can. After all, the son-in-law is the father's greatest ally that will make his daughter happy. That's why I welcome you as Campbell's family son-in-law. Bastien smiled. Sophia also made a big smile when she heard her father and mother talking. This was a unique family since she had an unreasonable but adventurous grandfather, a firm and calm father, and a lovely and caring mother. Right? I would also like to thank you since Sophia has grown up a bit because of you. I was worried that she would turn like her grandfather, but it seems love indeed can change a person. Regine smirked, teasing both of them. Indeed, even visiting you was just her own whim. She wanted me to process everything for her. Hais, looking back now, I can see why I'm always smiling recently. Bastien facepalmed and shook his head helplessly. You don't need to add that detail, right? Sophia shouted, feeling embarrassed. Kai smiled and enjoyed this atmosphere. They then discussed various matters regarding the family, EU base, US base, and their relationship. It was just a light talk, but both sides could learn from each other pretty well. As one would expect from Bastien, he always shut his father up, not letting him talk nonsense to Kai, unlike Michael. Unknowingly, the sun was about to set when they finished their talks. It just showed that the talks were both important and interesting. Even Regine became more spirited to challenge herself in the kitchen again, while Kai ended up taking a bath with both Bastien and Jules, talking about a few things in a relaxing bath. Not long after, they had dinner before Bastien brought him a few things. It was his uniform for the academy. It was a set of a smooth, white shirt with a simple logo on the left chest. On top of the shirt was a white vest to make it more elegant, especially with few golden stripes on the sleeves. The pants were white without anything on them. It seemed they needed to wear gloves too, but other than that, he didn't see any strange things to be worn. This is your uniform for school. There are a few things you need to do in school and understand them, so I will leave them to Sophia tomorrow. Kai took the uniform and nodded. I understand. Thank you very much. No need to be so formal. You should try to take a rest first, though. I know that you are not tired. He laughed. Anyway, because your departure was last minute, you will need to go to school tomorrow since it was already started 2 days ago. I can't really hog you all the time, can't I? Yes, I will try to rest my body. Then, Sophia, I will trouble you to guide him. Okay, father. Sophia gently nodded before stretching her hand to the door, asking Kai to leave with her. Looking at them leaving, Bastien's face mellowed before closing his eyes. Suddenly, his wife came closer as he pulled her into his embrace. We don't need to worry about her anymore, right? Yes. She has grown and someone can take care of her better than us. We only need to get our son a wife. Regine smiled, albeit that smile soon disappeared as she noticed something. That's right. Where's father, eh? He is with us just now. He turned around and didn't see a single person other than them. It was at this moment the two realized that Jules once again wanted to do something. Ugh, your father-in-law is annoying. No, he is your father, whatever. I will drag him back to this room in this instant. Bastien released his magic power as he walked out of the room. Meanwhile, Sophia and Kai had arrived at the guest room, or it was supposed to be a guest room, but the only thing he could see was that this was someone's room. The king-size bed had been arranged for a couple to use. Next to the bed was a dressing table where he found some makeup on it. Although the room was plain, he noticed the sweet smell that seemed to be the same as Sophia's. Don't tell me, this is your room? Kai blinked his eyes a few times before glancing at her. Yes? Sophia smiled and closed the door, locking it so no one could bother them. This is fine, right? You feel reserved to do it back in the US base because the others are there, right? I have talked to them about this as well, so I know. Kai fell silent, watching her expression wrenched in pain. She must have been holding back for a long time, and as she said, he had been holding back because he wondered how to break the news to them. I am sorry for everything. It's fine. I can understand. Sophia shook her head. But, Kai was about to say something, but Sophia already knew what he wanted and closed his mouth with a kiss. She then walked to her dress table before taking out 2 tubes filled with medicine that he was familiar with. That medicine, after talking to them, they gave me this medicine, is to prevent pregnancy and to hold the zodiac blood from coming out, right? She smiled and handed one of them to him. Kai was stunned as he never expected that they had been doing this behind his back, but when he took another look at the incident, it was truly his fault. Still, this was something special, so he didn't want to do it because of his mistake. Instead, he made a little smile and patted her head before gently lifting her chin to face him. He took medicine and drank it in one go. Saying this, Sophia also drank until the last drop without hesitation. The two smiled at each other and kissed. Their long, passionate night just started as Kai later became tired and completely forgot about his jet lag. The details are omitted. Chapter 4036. Rosalind. The next day, Kai and Sophia had arrived at the school. The building was similar to his school back in the US base, but the scale was far larger, as if it was for more students. The moment they entered, they found a giant field where many students actually fought against each other. Right in front of him, the student took his breath away, not because of her beauty, but due to her weapon. What's that? Kai asked. Sophia smiled and pointed at the white spider legs that were on her back. That's also a part of the exoskeleton. You can say it's the extension. If the exoskeleton is normally used to defend your body from incoming harm and boost your physical abilities, those legs can actually be controlled to move together with you and become your weapon. Huh? Kai narrowed his eyes as the technology piqued his interest. Can you see there is something on her neck, running through the back side of her cheek and connected to her head? Kai nodded. Yes, that's connecting the legs to your brain. It will move according to the brainwaves. Of course, calculating your own brainwaves is hard and needs so many trials and errors. Even that person needed around 2 years to reach this level of control. You know her? Kai asked. Yes, she is the escort that Aranor talked about, you know. She stuck her tongue out. Kai took a step back and widened his eyes. He once again checked the girl. She had long, light blue hair tied into a ponytail to tidy it up. Her blue, emotionless eyes showed that she couldn't be easily shaken by something, so Kai felt that this girl wouldn't talk too much. At least, she wouldn't be so annoying. The girl spun her sparring partner's body and struck her on the stomach, ending the match right there. Thank you, Rosalind. It seems I can't win against you today. Her opponent chuckled as she fell on her butt. I'm tired. No, you're already strong enough. She shook her head. Suddenly, killing intent spread around before moving to target her. She flinched, took a few steps back, and took out a shield while blocking the sides with her 8 spider legs. Raising her head, she found a male that perfectly fit the description Arnaud told her and instantly realized who he was. Seriously? Rosalind gulped down, wondering if someone like this truly needed protection. In that killing intent, she literally felt as if Kai was in front of her, choking her neck. Kai, on the contrary, never really used this type of move because he never felt the need to be in the US base. But since the Union wanted to monitor him, she needed to be someone capable, or else she would end up becoming his burden. He didn't mind taking care of a few people in the US base, but he had nothing to do with the EU base other than Sophia, so he wanted to see this person's ability. At the very least, she seemed to be sensitive enough to sense a killing intent from 50 meters away, so it should be enough for her to escape if he ordered her to. So, that's Kai Carter's. Rosalind took a few deep breaths and calmed her heart down. How many magical beasts has he killed? Few thousand? No, I believe it's already beyond tens of thousands. No way. Is it really above 100,000 magical beasts? She wiped the sweat on her forehead and tidied up her appearance as she walked toward Kai Carter with a serious expression. Her sparring partner was confused by her action, but it was answered when she saw Kai Carter staring at them from the school gate. While waiting for her to arrive, Sophia decided to introduce the girl. She is the number 3 of this school. Because of her specialty as a defender with that shield you saw earlier, she has been nominated to escort you around. Her name is Rosalind. Well, you have been informed that our school doesn't have the US base's group system, but we have something similar. To be honest, you are to search for a mission alone. The mission itself comes from the military, so there are many people who will come for that mission on the due date. Then, you basically need to team up with those people there according to the orders from above. In other words, unlike the US base that teaches the synergy for each group and has them lasted for long, the Union wants adaptability from the people here. After all, if someone from a team dies, the remaining people are required to get another person or continue as it is. That's why we don't adopt the group system. Of course, the synergy won't be as good as yours. I see. Kai nodded in agreement, knowing the reason why they implemented such a system. He contemplated until he heard that Rosalind had arrived before him. Hello, I'm Rosalind Brege. I can't speak Japanese, but I think my English is good enough to keep up with the conversation. Rosalind spoke in English and stretched her hand. It is my honor to help Kai Carter during his stay in this school. I am Kai Carter. Nice to meet you. Kai nodded. Although he wasn't pure-blood Japanese in United Asia, in fact had so many languages, they still used Japanese to talk on a daily basis. It was to honor Japan to take them in as a refuge in the past. Even though they changed the name to United Asia, they still held it in high regard. However, Kai and his family still spoke English from time to time back in the house, so he didn't have a problem talking to Michelle in the past and had no trouble talking with others in the US base from the start. Still, he wondered whether he should learn French so she could speak easily in this place, then realized that it wasn't worth the time. Instead of learning other languages, he better learned other races' languages. They shook hands with a smile. Kai could see that her spider legs had been compressed to a simple box attached to her back. It was around a lunchbox in size, so she shouldn't have any problem or whatsoever to have it attached on her back. I don't know if you have heard this, but I have 3 primary jobs. I will accompany you anywhere you want to go since I need to report it. Of course, you have your freedom in your room or bathroom unless you act suspiciously. Then, if you have any requests to the Union, I will do my best to relay your message to them. Third, I am going to fight together with you in every single mission, and you are allowed to make me do anything. She explained while raising 3 fingers. Do anything, eh? Sophia suddenly smirked and looked at her. Including sexual activity? Yes. Rosalind nodded with a poker face even though she hesitated for a second. She thought and took 1 step back, putting her right hand above her chest and her left hand on the waist. My bust is 85 centimeters. My waist is 86 centimeters. I have confidence that I will be able to bear a good child. That was a pretty but unusual introduction. Even Sophia was amazed by the boldness. However, Kai shook his head and sighed. You should say it when you're comfortable with it. Anyway, I will make you do something like that, don't worry. As one would expect, the hesitation in her tone was easily caught by Kai's ears. On the contrary, Rosalind felt both relieved and hurt at the same time as she facepalmed. I wonder if I should be hurt to see you not finding me attractive or feel happy that you're a good person. Well, I'm a direct subordinate of the Union, and they asked me the same thing as they want from Sophia. I should say this from the beginning, since I don't want a misunderstanding or offend you in any case. After all, the moment we surrender ourselves to the Union, we need to follow any command, no matter how ridiculous it is. Rosalind let out a long sigh before smiling. Anyway, that's everything. Do you have a question? Not really. Kai shook his head. I am just wondering if I can call the people in the US base, since I don't know whether the Union will tap it or not. Ahaha, even I don't have the answer to that question, but I can ask my superior about it. Nah, it's fine. It's only 3 months anyway, so I can bear with it. Kai shrugged without a change of expression, as if he had prepared for something like this. Little did Sophia and Rosalind know that Kai had gotten a direct line that allowed him to call the people close to him and the government if she felt troubled, or just wanted to share his love with his close ones. Anyway, I'm new here, so I don't know anything. What should I do first? The school has a seminar every single day for each grade, but not many participate in it because they don't have an interest in it, and most of them are on a mission, so I don't think you need to come to the seminar. Grandfather has completed the registration process for you, so you only need to grab the key to your dorm from him right now. After that, I can guide you around the school, answered Sophia with a poker face. Well, I need to follow you wherever, so please excuse me. I hope you don't mind. Rosalind gently scratched the back of her head with an apologetic smile. Kai thought for a moment and decided, let's deal with the formality stuff first. Chapter 437. 3 Courses. As they agreed, Sophia led Kai to the principal office while Rosalind chose to tag along. As one would expect, they gathered attention everywhere they went. Kai's reputation was already worldwide, while Sophia and Rosalind were famous on their own. Still, most of them were actually gossiping about Kai and Rosalind since they thought Rosalind had become Kai's partner on the first day. They might have actually contacted each other before that. Kai didn't answer nor clarify this matter since he would just get a bigger reaction from them, so it was not worth his time. He only walked without looking at them. Yet, he didn't know why, but the men's stares contained killing intent. Sophia shouldn't be the problem since her relationship with him had been announced, so the real reason must be Rosalind. Deciding to figure things out, he listened to all their conversations and understood that Rosalind had a reputation for being one of the 4 queens of the school alongside Sophia. The queens possessed everything from family background, money, talents, skills, and beauty. They were the most idolized people in the entire school, so no wonder they released their killing intent. With Sophia in his front and Rosalind behind him, he truly looked like a king. They felt jealous because they wanted to change positions with him. There was also the fact that Kai didn't come from a big family, so his status was quite low, making them think that everything he achieved came from the Graham family or any other big family in his harem. Kai couldn't care less about this because strength was what mattered. If he killed them, they wouldn't be able to do anything unless they came back to life. After what felt like a long 1-hour walk, they finally arrived at the principal office, where he needed to handle another troublesome guy, Sophia's grandfather, Jules. Knock. Knock. Sophia knocked on the door and opened her mouth. We're here. Come in. Jules's voice came out as Sophia reached the handle and opened it. Excuse us. The room was similar to that of a student council back in Sacred Magic School. 1 big table for the student council principal at the other end of the room, and 2 big couches for others to sit on. You finally come. I'm tired of waiting for you, Jules complained, and noticed Rosalind behind Kai. He clicked his tongue and threw a palm-sized white card toward Kai. This is your room key. Kai grabbed it without a problem and checked the key, finding E09 on it. I have settled every single document for you, other than these 2 that require your signatures. After that, you can go around the school, go to your dorm, or even start listening to the lectures. I don't care. Jules shrugged. If you want a mission or something, ask my granddaughter to guide you to the billboard where you can find a mission. Never mind. I have another solution. He opened a drawer on his right and found another device. This is a new device. You can use this in this place. Ask her to link it up with the billboard so you can check the mission in your room. Kai narrowed his eyes and thought there was a tracker inside. However, it wasn't like they would see or listen to anything, since you would only play by the rule. Thank you. Kai nodded his head politely and signed 2 documents after taking a close look at them so he didn't get cheated. In that case, I will guide him to his room. Sophia nodded and waved her hand. Yep, you can go now. Jules let them go just like that. Even Kai expected he blew up about something stupid, but it seemed he could act professionally as the principal. They went straight to the dorm where everyone lived. Suddenly, Sophia glanced back and opened her mouth. I think you don't need to follow him for today. It's not like he is going to do anything right now. I can guide him as well. Feeling a bit suspicious, Rosalind shook her head. I'm afraid I can't comply with your request. I have been tasked by the union to follow him anywhere other than bathroom and bedroom, unless it's necessary. Sophia sighed and turned back as Kai glanced to the side, finding a certain classroom. What's that? Engineering room. In this school, we separate 3 specializations. The first will be trained like a soldier. In your US base, it's like the combination between the magic school and military school. We train both aspects together. The second specialization is her. She pointed at Rosalind. Fighting with an exoskeleton. Well, you can consider me as one too. But when you have gathered enough merits through the school systems, you can request a unique exoskeleton extension, like her spider legs. I don't have any interest in those, so I can't show you anything. The last one is engineering. Their school materials are to research exoskeletons and create their own unique exoskeleton. Of course, this only happens recently since the Union seems to want to spread it worldwide. That's the reason why we agreed to US base's request to make your own exoskeleton. In any case, it's going to spread sooner or later. So even the US base will start sending students to learn here. Anyway, all 3 respect each other because an exoskeleton won't be able to do anything if the engineers don't want to make an exoskeleton for them. The supply will be cut if they offend the basic course people, since they occupy most of our numbers and gather the materials for them. And you may end up getting beaten up if you offend an exoskeleton user. Sophia explained everything he needed to know in this school. He nodded with a serious expression, knowing the reason why they could live in harmony. Well, the entire school will eventually hate you if you create a commotion here because these 3 are helping each other to survive, added Rosalind with a smile. Yeah, I can see that. I just hope that someone is not foolish enough to mess around with me by throwing a fake claim. Kai narrowed his eyes and released his killing intent. Rosalind's sweat dropped as she could foresee a bloodbath if this guy were offended. With him being able to kill an S-rank magical beast, his skill might already be on par with Jules, their strongest. If those 2 joined up, no one in the Union would be able to stop them. That was why they sent her to check on him and tried to seduce him even though she didn't want to do it. His power was just that absurd. Although this was only for the higher-ups, Kai was actually more famous for his other ability. It was his commanding ability. Without any doubt, Kai could be considered a genius in warfare. If he ordered Campbell family soldiers and fought together with Jules, they would truly be unstoppable. Kai could understand that as well, so he felt that someone might try to mess it up by creating a problem for him. For better or worse, it would influence the entire school and ultimately the entire base. Thus, Rosalind's other mission was to sustain a safe environment, so Kai didn't pull any tricks. She had gotten permission from the Union to eliminate people that would disturb this peace anyway, since Kai was a double-edged sword. And due to this agreement, they couldn't kill Kai as well, or they would be condemned by all the people in the world, including their own citizens. Noticing her thought, Kai smiled. You're going to have rough days. I have prepared for it. She let out a long sigh. Just be gentle to me. Kai fell silent as this girl pretended to misunderstand what he was talking about. What Kai meant was a serious problem, while she replied as if she mentioned the lewd problem. In the end, Kai decided to stop talking and followed Sophia until they arrived at the white building next to the main school building. This dorm could host more than 5,000 people at once, so the students could have a good living environment without the need to return to their homes. After another few minutes, they arrived at room 09, where Kai would live for the next 3 months. Suddenly, Sophia did something no one would think of. She opened the door with the same key card as the one in Kai's hand. Even Rosalind dropped her jaw to the ground as she thought that what she just saw was an illusion. They had us. The Campbell family had us. Kai entered the room while asking nonchalantly, "Why do you have?" He stopped the moment he took a look at the room. It had a simple closet and one regular-sized bed, barely enough for 2 people. Other than that, the room only had 1 table and 1 chair. None of them were actually for 2 people. Yet Kai found another suitcase with women's clothes. There was no doubt that those clothes were Sophia's. In other words, Jules's plan was to make them cohabit with each other to grow their love by sharing everything. What a sly old man, Kai commented with a poker face and shook his head helplessly. Don't tell me you two are going to live together? Rosalind asked, flustered. You can already see the answer. Why do you even need to ask it again? Sophia shrugged and entered the room like how she'd been doing for the last couple of days. Kai only sighed and cared no more. He didn't mind sleeping together with her since both knew that they couldn't do anything unless they had the medicine. In other words, no matter how clever the plan was, nothing would happen. The only thing that would increase was their affinity with each other since they basically shared everything. Rosalind gasped and shouted, I'm going to live here too. There's not enough space. Sophia suddenly made a small grin as she teased her. Are you sure you want to intrude on our love nest? Chapter 438, Negotiation. After getting shut up by both Kai and Sophia relentlessly, Rosalind ended up falling silent for the rest of the day. Kai, on the other hand, had another interest in the engineering department since he wanted to see what kind of exoskeleton they could produce at this point. Although he himself didn't have the need to add another exoskeleton to help him fight, considering his sword was the sharpest sword in the world, he still wanted to see the creativity of the people in the Union. After all, there might be one or two that were beyond his imagination as he ended up using it. Of course, he would negotiate with them to get the right for the exoskeleton. In his room, Kai asked Sophia, Do you know a place to buy the exoskeleton? Well, there is no buying option, but I think you can ask someone to invent one for you or ask for the right to wear it. Sophia nodded. Do you want to buy something? Yep, Kai admitted that he wanted to buy it, but it might not be for him. I can lead you to that place. Do you want to go now or unpack your luggage first? Let's go there immediately, answered Kai without hesitation. He didn't want to waste the opportunity and took everything he could within these 3 months. Before that, I want to ask you one question. Sure, ask anything. Where do you want to go? Don't worry about this woman. She will probably tag along because of the mission. And if it's dangerous, my grandfather may end up following you. Probably one more guy from the Union who is most likely Arnaud. Do you know anything about Akkadian language? Akkadian? I think I've heard it before. She looked down, falling into deep thought. Suddenly, Rosalind recognized it and asked, Is it Akkadian Empire? Yes. Kai nodded. I'm going to search all the Akkadian Empire's territory. Rosalind quickly searched it up on the internet. It was the first ancient empire, uniting Akkadian and Sumerian speakers. Their territory is too large for us to search, so it will take months even with 1,000 people. And with so many beasts in that territory, it will become even harder to search for anything. Rosalind didn't agree with this idea because it was far too dangerous. On the contrary, Sophia only hummed and nodded her head. All right. When do you want to visit that territory? I am not sure. Kai shook his head. I'm still thinking about the opportunity. Are you crazy? Rosalind grabbed Sophia's shoulders and shook her. This is madness. No, this is suicide. You can't expect us to agree with this, right? I'm not going to have my target of protection just go to this place. Listening to her words, Sophia shrugged and said, You just need to protect him then. It's not like there is an S-rank magical beast or something in that area, so there shouldn't be a problem. Are you listening to me? There are still hundreds of thousands of beasts, if not millions. This is a suicide mission. Kai sighed and stopped Rosalind by grabbing her shoulder before opening his mouth. That's it, Sophia. We will go after my period here ends. With this, they won't have the right to stop me again. Just think of me as a suicidal person. What are you saying? Rosalind gritted her teeth. Do you think you can go away just like that? There's no way that the Union will give you permission to do something like that. They will do anything to stop you. Then what? They will stop me and use that information to go there by themselves? Kai made a mocking smile since he had no doubt it would go to that road at some point. Rosalind fell silent because she knew that the moment she reported this, many people in the Union would seize this opportunity to go there. Of course, the military would also focus on expanding in that direction to see what kind of important thing Kai wanted to find. Unfortunately, Kai dropped another bomb that made it impossible for them to get something buried underneath that land. Still, no matter what trick you can do to me, I can simply return to the US base and have my own expedition here. The EU base has no right to stop me that way. What? Do you want to seize it from me first? Try it. You will know that it's impossible to go there. Kai's smile was filled with confidence. There were two keys they needed to open this space that contained ancient people. The first would be the necklace Rapaka gave him, and the other one was his identity as the protector, which was more important than the former. Well, I have reported it in the past, Sophia added while glancing at his necklace. In other words, Sophia just directed her attention to the key that Kai held. To get this necklace from him, there were only 3 ways because of his ears. The first would be seizing it by force. This move would certainly get condemnation from the citizens, since Kai was the #1 idol in the world. At the same time, Kai's strength was too strong. With the Campbell family backing him in this base, it was practically impossible to get it from him unless they moved their entire force. The second way was getting his approval by asking him in a polite way, such as an agreement between 2 bases. However, it seemed that Kai had full custody of the item, so he by no means had an obligation to hand it over to the government. Even if they tried to pressure him, he still had Rhea Ross, Nathan Graham, or even General Rain, with whom he had gotten close for the last few months. In other words, this option was also a no-no. That left the last option, seduction. Yet, this was the most reasonable option in Rosalind's mind. She herself had prepared for something like this and would offer her body to Kai whenever he wanted it, albeit this didn't include the fact that Sophia had seduced him for a year only to become his potential wife a year later. It was possible, but she only had 3 months to do it. And Kai didn't like a rushed relationship, so the chance was practically impossible. All in all, the 3 options were practically useless to get the key. The only way out was to agree with all his conditions and coordinate with him in this mission. Hence, Rosalind would likely report this incident and force Arnaud to comply with his demands, even if they needed to go on a suicidal mission like this. Unfortunately for her, she just displeased him earlier because of the earlier conversation. Although it was understandable since the concern was his safety, Kai seemed to not like it. Rosalind gulped down and finally lowered her head, begging Kai, "Please, you can do anything to me if it pleases you, but I hope that you can do this mission together with the Union." Kai smiled as she had taken the bait. He knew that it was possible for him to go with the US base, especially his teacher. But the protector that threatened the safety of US base had their eyes on the base, so if they sent an expedition team to this place, he would be noticed by them, making the enemies speed up everything. If a protector truly moved, the US base might be wiped out the next day. In that case, he had no choice other than to rely on the EU base to take action, even if they got a bite of the benefits he would receive. Either way, the biggest reward would be him learning other races' languages, so his existence would become the biggest threat to the whole world. Whether they wanted to fight him as an enemy or treat him as a friend, it would be entirely up to the world leader. And Kai knew that the current president of the US base would choose to side with him. Luckily, Brent was elected twice, allowing him to take the reign for another 3 years. That was why he said that everything would be over within 3 years. Everything was within his calculation. After getting the confirmation from Rosalind, Kai acted as if he was pondering over it seriously. Each second felt like an eternity for Rosalind, because if Kai rejected this, there would be something awful for her in the near future. Thinking that Kai needed one more push to agree to her, as this had become a part of their lives in Shady's negotiation, she started unbuttoning the vest, preparing to do anything for the sake of one nod. Unfortunately for her, that courage had been blown away by one sentence from Kai. "If you strip, I'm going to disagree. Let me think a bit more to see if doing it with US base is more profitable or not. That I can try to help you negotiate with the higher-ups about it." "Try, eh?" "I will definitely convince them." "No, please. We agree to every demand of yours as long as it's related to the expedition." Rosalind changed the terms and agreed on their behalf. After all, she had read all the reports involving Kai, and the necklace was indeed some sort of key to a certain space according to the report. That was why she had to do anything for Kai to agree. "Fine. You can tell them about this expedition. If they don't agree, it means this is over. I just want to remind you that no matter what you try to do, you won't succeed. My conditions are simple. Only 5 people can go, and they will be directed by me. I can't guarantee the reward, but I can promise that you will get something good. Last but not least, I want full closure about my identity to the agents who will participate in this expedition, even if the Union is asking for that information." After stating that term, Kai placed his hand on her head and patted her a few times. "Let's get along, shall we?" Chapter 439. Reporting. Ugh. Arnaud gritted his teeth when he heard about the report. He was staying in his room because Rosalind said she had something important to talk about, but he never expected that it was this important. In front of him was a blue screen with Rosalind's face on it, as they were in the middle of a video call. He face-palmed and supported his head on the table with his hand, letting out a long sigh. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have agreed to those terms." Rosalind apologized because she thought Arnaud was disappointed in her because she had been reckless. However, the latter shook his head helplessly and explained, "I'm not blaming you. In fact, I want to praise you for reaching an agreement. Though I believe that this is his plan all along." Rosalind looked down with a sad expression, knowing that Kai tricked her earlier, pressuring her to make a decision. Unfortunately, nothing could be done because Kai's words were far heavier than her imagination. His conditions were clear. Join him and you would receive the benefit. There was no room for negotiation. Why? Why would he state something like this right at the beginning? Was it because Sophia asked him? No. Due to the fact that he was new here, no one, even Rosalind, could grasp this man called Kai Carter fully, so this was the best way to raise his worth far above his actual worth and pressured them to agree. What an enigma. That guy can't be measured by the standard anymore. Arnaud closed his eyes, pondering what he should do with this information. "For now, I will convince the Union, since this might be a great clue for us, considering Sophia Campbell once got something good from the Easter Island expedition. There is a possibility that this one is bigger than that, because the stone gave something so important to Kai Carter. According to that stone, this place would have ancient civilization, so I'm hoping that this is not a trap to bait us. After all, you can see the wonders of the world like pyramids and such, and contemplate how they were even built. There's only one thing that could be used as an explanation." Rosalind realized and dropped her jaw. "Magic." Exactly. Arnaud praised her for getting that agreement solely for this, since the ancient civilization might be more important than he thought. If we can even have a portion of ancient civilization knowledge about magic, we may be able to create something better than an exoskeleton. It will only strengthen the Union. She closed her eyes, not knowing whether to feel relieved or angry. She felt useless in front of Kai Carter. Yet, Kai said that he was looking forward to their cooperation. No, her cooperation. In other words, Kai had the intention to bring her there. At the same time, this sentence could be used to protect her from the Union, especially if they tried to punish her because she was too rash. Even though Kai indeed pressured her to agree to this promise, he still protected her from the danger. Still, to think that Kai Carter would do something like this. Arnaud narrowed his eyes, looking at her. Rosalind knew what he was thinking about her and looked away. "I'm not someone important. There is still a chance. You should grab it. It's impossible." Rosalind shook her head helplessly. "The time is too short to be even considered. How about sending you as an exchange student this time?" He smiled. "Or do you hate him? After all, he pressured you to do something like this." "I don't know. No, I don't hate him. He just did something like that because we were strangers, but I probably could say that I like his personality." "Whatever. I only want to say one thing. Don't let your emotions hinder your judgment. I will handle this case, but there might be people that will try to make a fuss sooner or later, so do your job well, okay?" "I understand." She saluted him. "Then, good night. You should rest for now. I will send you the reply 3 days later. For now, tell him that it will take time to come to a decision, but I should be able to convince them. The expedition can get the approval 1 or 2 months later." "Yes, sir." Rosalind then ended their call and swiped the screen, making it disappear. She took a step back and let out a long sigh before looking at her own room. Something seemed to be calling her, and she wondered whether she had to do it or not. "Whatever, I need to do this." Meanwhile, Kai and Sophia sat face to face with serious expressions. "I'm sure you know it, but this place is truly cramped." "I know." Sophia nodded and looked at the closet, which was filled with their clothes. Her eyes then wandered to the table, the only place that was empty in this room since no one had the need to use it other than placing their device or something. The bathroom was the same. They had a shower and a bathtub, so it was pretty nice, but they would be able to hear each other even if they closed the door. In other words, for the rest of his stay here, they wouldn't have any privacy and need to share everything together. Kai and Sophia didn't really mind that. The only problem would be the bed. Kai thought for a moment and asked, "What do you think about the bed? Why don't we sleep together? It's not like that's a problem for you, right?" "I don't mind, but temptation?" She smiled. "Don't worry. I will properly take care of you, like the others when we were in the US base." It was true that none of his girls ever did it properly when they had no medicine, but it didn't mean that's all to it. Besides, I don't know if I can return to the US base after 3 months, so isn't it fine for me to be a bit more selfish here? Kai took a deep breath and nodded. "Fine, you win. I won't complain about it. I just want no one to hear something like..." Before he finished his words, he seemed to hear something going on next door and face-palmed. "Ugh. And now this happens. What's happening?" She tilted her head in confusion. Since he looked to the left, Sophia decided to come out of the room and peek to the left, finding Rosalind with her suitcase. "Oh? Rosalind." Sophia narrowed her eyes, watching how Rosalind negotiated something with a girl next door. Rosalind froze for a second and stiffly turned around. "Yeah, Sophia, why are you here? Do you need help or something?" Sophia didn't say anything and kept staring at her to make her nervous. Rosalind flinched as she wondered what she should do when the situation was like this. There was no doubt that the girl was the original tenant, and Rosalind seemed to be making an agreement with her so they could exchange places. The only reason was to monitor Kai and do everything possible. She was also aware Rosalind brought a sound jamming machine with her, preventing her report from being heard by Kai. That was the reason why Kai didn't see this coming. "What are you doing here?" Sophia made an evil smirk, as if she planned to do something. "I am here just to exchange places with my classmate here. There's nothing wrong with that, right?" Rosalind answered her question calmly. "Don't you mean you are trying to intrude on our love nest? That's not something I can appreciate. Didn't you start from a homewrecker?" Rosalind snorted and stated the fact to slap Sophia's face. "I don't know what you are talking about. I started from being his comrade. Whatever you want to say, I am too lazy to deal with you who like to twist every single word to your own convenience." Rosalind shrugged. "Besides, this is legal in this academy, so I haven't broken a single rule." The two stared at each other with fighting intent, as if they wanted to slap the cheek of the opposite party. Sophia thought for a moment and revealed a small grin. "I wonder if you can still say something like that after a few days." After saying her piece, Sophia returned to the room and let Rosalind finish the exchange, settling down to her new room. Meanwhile, Sophia walked to Kai and explained her good idea. "Kai, can you use your sound insulation room for this room and the one next to us?" Kai let out a long sigh. "I don't know if you are trying to prank her or annoy her. I will just do it for you once, no more after that, since I know that it's the latter if you keep continuing this. It's just me." Sophia took a deep breath and calmed down. "Yes, I know. Just this once. I won't do something like this again. If it's too much, I will explain everything to her and apologize, okay?" Kai looked at her eyes and sighed. "Fine. Just this once." He immediately erected the sound insulation room for the two rooms. If he deemed this went too far, he would stop her and lock the room with his sound insulation room. At the same time, he would be disappointed in Sophia. As the time passed by, Rosalind had finally finished settling her luggage and laid down on the bed, exhausted. She thought that staying near Kai would allow her to do everything together, so this was something necessary after seeing the arrangement. However, her night had just begun when she heard Sophia's voice from the next room. She kept moaning for an hour, as if they were in the middle of their night activity. Rosalind's face couldn't help but blush, as she never expected that Sophia would do something like this. Whether it was true or not, she couldn't help imagining what was happening next door. Chapter 440. Interest. The next day, Kai came out of the room with Sophia before turning his head to the left, finding Rosalind coming out of her room too. Her complexion seemed to be not that healthy, and Kai knew why she would become like that. Kai didn't want to be that demanding and told his girlfriend to do this and not to do that, so he agreed to yesterday's request. However, he was also not someone who would allow his girlfriend to do anything too far, so he limited that thing only once. After all, Rosalind was just a poor soul that needed to be there because of her own mission, not her will. Anyway, you should rest if you are not doing well, said Kai, while wondering what he needed to do for today. No, it's fine. Rosalind shook her head and explained. Anyway, the agreement will be finalized within 3 days according to my superior. What do you want to see today? I will guide you to the room and explain everything to the teacher with a formal notice from the union. Kai thought for a moment and said, I wish to see around the exoskeleton then. It's not like I'm interested in the 2 other courses. I will probably watch them later. I understand. Rosalind nodded with a serious expression as she led Kai to his destination. Sophia remained silent the whole time since she couldn't do anything other than accompanying him during this period. Even her grandfather had been notified by the union about their bottom line. The only time she could do anything freely would be when they ventured to the place Kai wanted to see. Either way, their first stop would be the room where the exoskeleton was produced. There were many teachers and students inside as they worked on many projects side by side. In fact, this room looked like a factory instead of a classroom. The width alone reached 100 meters, allowing many people to work on the project while getting supervised by the teachers. The teachers here are professors that used to work on the exoskeleton program. Instead of doing it half-heartedly, the union sent all the professors here to take in a fresh new idea from the student while teaching them how to build it from a young age. This may require some advanced engineering, but the technology allows people to become a student in this area as long as you have a bit of talent. Kai nodded in agreement, knowing that the students here seemed to be serious about their own jobs. Rosalind decided to go to one teacher as the head supervisor and showed him the notice. After calling Kai and talking about the few requirements he needed to obey in this place, he finally gave him permission with Rosalind as his guide. The trio then began venturing the entire room. They saw many types of exoskeletons, from an extended blade that would come out of the exoskeleton's wrist to something that looked like a robot. The variations truly surprised Kai as he observed each of them carefully while asking some people that would be more than happy to answer his inquiries. Of course, he would leave as soon as someone told him to leave them because he was a nuisance. Suddenly, one person piqued his interest. The exoskeleton actually built a concentrated shoe and glove. This! Kai narrowed his eyes and raised his vision, finding a woman with red hair. Her hair wasn't that long, only slightly reaching a bit lower than her shoulders. However, she tied it neatly to avoid being a nuisance to her work. She wore the same uniform as them, but coupled with some fluid that covered it to avoid dirt and such from the equipment. Noticing Kai's presence, she stopped what she was doing and looked at Kai in confusion before finding Sophia and Rosalind behind him. At that moment, it just clicked, and she realized who they were. She quickly tidied her appearance and offered a smile. Welcome. Hello, I am Kai Carter. Kai made a gentle smile. I am sorry if I disturb you. It's fine. I'm not in the important part. She shook her head before continuing. Besides, I'm honored to see the legendary Kai Carter in front of me. Ahaha, I'm just a normal student like you. Kai waved his hand as if telling her it wasn't a big deal. Can I ask you a few things about what you make here? Sure. Please ask me anything. I will try to answer your questions to the best of my ability. From what I can see here, why are you doing everything separately? Are you trying to build full body armor? Not really. She tilted her head in confusion. I love watching a battle between martial artists, you see. So, I grow up and want to become one. To do that, I need to build my own equipment. She then touched her equipment one by one while explaining. This glove was inspired by the boxing glove. This boot was inspired by Taekwondo, thinking that if a normal one didn't allow me to one-hit kill the magical beast, I would have used this shoe to fulfill it. Of course, I know that I'm insulting the martial arts, but I still think this is my answer to my dream. I see. Do you think I can order one from you? Really? She was more than happy to take this order since she was also short in cash to do this research. Meanwhile, Rosalind and Sophia widened their eyes, never expecting that Kai would be interested in this. Normally, the students would be more excited about sharp weapons, so they thought Kai would get a blade or something. However, Kai's real aim wasn't a sharp blade and the like. It was the exoskeleton for his girlfriend. This one seemed to suit Ayaka so much if he could add more weight into the exoskeleton, so he didn't hesitate to use his money to buy this. I can do it, but I'm afraid I don't have enough funds to make you one. And do you have any preference? Well, I want something heavy. The heaviest thing you can get for both shoes and gloves. Don't worry, I can cover the expense. If I am satisfied, I will pay even more. That will be great. She nodded with a smile. As for something heavier, this is a bit challenging because we can't really dump all the materials into it, as it won't be flexible like how the exoskeleton should be. What is the maximum weight you can put on? I am not sure, but I think I can give you 200-kilogram shoes. The gloves will be 2/3 of the shoe's weight. Kai thought for a moment and nodded. Yep, I don't mind. I understand. Do you have a time limit for me? I am not that strict, but since my stay here is limited to 3 months, I hope you can do it within that time. She contemplated for a minute before nodding her head. I can, as long as I have enough funds. There is a weight test as well, so I'm afraid that I will fail a few times. Normally, I can reuse the materials, but it will take more time to do something like that. Yeah, I don't mind. Kai nodded, thinking that he already had too much money in his account after so many achievements anyway, so he didn't mind spending some. By the way, Kai Carter, Rosalind stopped him and said, there is a document you need to sign if you want to bring this to the US base, especially the non-disclosure agreement, even if the US base wants to take it by force. Yeah, I know about it. Either way, they will be satisfied with just the news about the possibility of the exoskeleton going public. Kai shrugged. And I have enough confidence to stop them, even with force. Rosalind closed her eyes, knowing that Kai truly had that power. She thought for a moment and nodded. I understand. I will ask for the document from my superior and give it to you tomorrow. Sure. Kai nodded and turned around, asking the female again. Anyway, how much does it cost? Do I need to send the deposit first? I don't understand how it works here. Ah, may I get your contact? I can send everything there, along with the proposal and design. The woman suddenly remembered and continued. By the way, I am Leslie LaRue. Kai nodded and sent her his contact address for business purposes. You can contact me here. I understand. I will finish it as soon as possible. Leslie nodded with a smile. She seemed to be fired up for this project. Not only could she become Kai's acquaintance, but she would also receive more funding from him, as long as she satisfied his requirement. This was a win-win situation for her, and there was no way she would let it go. After reaching an agreement, Kai then shook her hand before taking another look at the rest of the people. Unfortunately, none of them managed to pique his interest, so he just left the room, happy with his finding. Rosalind then guided him to a few other places that revolved around exoskeletons, but he only nodded his head most of the time. They only used that day to go around the school, introducing their various facilities, especially the training space right in front of the school gate. Rosalind even asked whether Kai had any interest in having a spar with her, albeit she took that back after getting the warning from Sophia.